same bat channel. For now, though, Brendan.
See you guys.
Hey guys, y'all, welcome in. Tuesday afternoon, 2 hours to go here in U.S. equity session. We are dealing with back to flat, essentially, on that last move back to the downside there for the overall market. I was just checking out some of the rates moving back higher, actually, right now. That's $1, a bit of a bounce on a intraday time frame. If you zoom in a little bit, we've had this decent move up here, 105 back to about 105.40 for the DXY. That is Rivian. What a start to the day we had for Rivian today, but it was straight southbound. We give it all back, basically right back to where it ended yesterday. Enough done with that right out of the gate this morning. It's been flat ever since. Caterpillar, I was noticing some of the more defensive type names, discretionary stocks to the upside today, including CAT having a nice day up 1.5%, pulling back to 347 right now. But industrials specifically showing a little bit of strength throughout the afternoon. Payment stocks here showing some strength as well. Both Visa and MasterCard in positive territory. Some strength in retail land. We're yet to hear from them on the earnings front. That is to come over the next couple of weeks here. Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, more on the discretionary side of things back in positive territory here. Mixed bag though when you look at tech. Semiconductors specifically relatively weak today. Nvidia, huge day yesterday, back downside today. Broadcom, AMD, same story. Microsoft, if you remember yesterday, these two were basically opposite. Google up today 1.6%. Apple still positive 0.5% after that event. I mean, there was kind of ho-hum. Not much to, we'll dig into it here, but not much to really see or hear. I don't think everyone was expecting what came. CRM, Netflix, and Intuit, to name a few there, also positive on the day. Bit of a mixed bag, which means the overall market, yeah, pretty flat here. I was wondering if that level right there was the culprit there on that volume spike. Maybe some stops getting hit here this afternoon, forcing this thing back to basically flat on the day. But yeah, that's a 15-minute chart. So you got to go all the way back to Thursday, really, to see the last time we bottomed out. It's been this slow and steady kind of grind higher ever since. But yeah, we did get some hawkish comments there from Fed speakers, but I mean, really nothing we haven't heard yet. Kashkari, if you missed it, they're reiterating the simple fact that if they have to stay where they are, they will. And hey, if they have to go up, they will. So, I mean, again, nothing we haven't really heard or seen before. Let's talk about PLTR. That was the main earnings name on watch this morning when we sat down. We'll touch on Disney here as well. They reported pre-market, but after the close yesterday, initial move was higher on the overall numbers, but got flushed on the forecast, was pretty light, comes out of the gate this morning, downside even more. And we've been grinding along the lows here, guys, ever since about 10 o'clock this morning.
That said, for Palantir, which, look, I mean, Palantir's down 15%. However, and we talked about it at length in the morning. We talked about it, well, I talked about it in the lesson of the day. But at least now it's got successive higher lows. At least it had until the market did that little bit of a dump. And I was in it, finally, one low, higher low here, 21.40, and then it put in a higher low at 21.50, took the breakout trade. It looked like it was going to be cruising up, and it just started taking profit, and like we're going to head into VWAP. And you know what anybody would have seen just happen on the futures ended up happening, dragging everything down with it. Palantir broke that support level. Ultimately, there's no such thing as good earnings or bad earnings. There's just the numbers come out, and the market does what they want with them. You can definitely say that the guide might not have been to what everybody's liking. Ultimately, this is a stock that had made a pretty good rally into the highs and ends up making the rejection. I tried a couple of SSR bounces, and the only one that was good, well, there was a couple that were good, but the real one was off the $22 level right at the open. Everything else has been a complete battle, dropping the falling knife here on Palantir. That said, I still think it's putting in a higher low. Well, it's attempting to put in another higher low right now. I'm only taking consolidations and then consolidation break higher at this point, until it gets to something like a VWAP. But lesson learned on Palantir. I had actually, what's crazy is I was so close to going green on this if it had gotten to VWAP on that move, but I got a bit greedy and held too much for that last little push into VWAP. That was a bit of greed there. That was still holding like a third, and it got way too close to VWAP to still be holding a third.
Yeah, we're just back into it. It hasn't been doing anything really all day. You know, the big hits come in the morning where we try to go long. We liked it. We talked about 2160. Eventually it broke, but it's been holding. We wrote down today we wrote down 2150. So I feel like we shouldn't even really even be down on this, but unfortunately we started by missing that first take there. Then, you know, this just buying it all the way down until eventually we break that 2150. So if we had just waited for this, I don't even know. I guess we would have been up because, like, I'm not punching out of a 15-cent hit for Palantir. So we probably would have been up there. But at the end of the day, patience gets us again, and we do not follow our very own rules. So, yeah, to learn something would be to follow your rules. So, yeah, we didn't do that on Palantir, and it hurt us there today. Down 14% is exactly as expected. Right now, I think it was 14.8%. So still some room to go here on Palantir. Path of least resistance, though, is down. I mean, bouncing off VWAP right there twice, right down to the downside. So again, the VWAP trade-off earnings continues to work there, and it works again for Palantir.
It's not. No. Right. All right, Tesla, speaking of grinding along the lows, actually making a low right now. If you missed it this morning, this China data comes out showing, I think it was 18% decline year over year for Chinese-made cars specifically for Tesla. This came out then just after the open this morning, shutting down their Grunheide production facility for 4 days for some expansion work for Tesla as well, adding to an already negative day here.
Yeah, and it's not a good look because we saw last week NIO reported better than expected earnings. And I know for a fact that the L6, the new Li Auto line, has had individuals buying that hand over fist. So you have to wonder, is the Chinese market really saturated of Tesla's cars here? And are they due for a possible redesign? I know they just redesigned the Model 3, but this is interesting here because we have some of these Chinese EVs doing quite well.
Yeah, I mean, the actual stocks did just, yeah, NIO was, yeah, I mean, it's flat, 2.5%, I guess, on the day is where it basically started anyways. But Tesla, there's Rivian as well. We'll touch on here as well, guys, coming off that Apple rumor for Rivian coming up in a sec.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I actually didn't trade Tesla today. It just didn't quite get to the level I wanted for the pop and fade, which feels like a lot of things like today. Like the shorts that you really wanted, you know, this one could have been great at 183. I know you had that one as 83 as your level, Sean. I was looking at 185, and I had my offer sitting at like 184.44 in front of 184.5. You're going to see Tesla get dragged down here. Absolutely nasty. The other thing, when Rivian doesn't report till tonight, obviously, that Apple rumor, we'll talk about that specifically for them. Tesla looks like a VWAP short. It's been trending down the entire way. The thing that I'm in also reported, but it's been essentially the same level. Like, never really got a backup Nikola to 63s, and I've been shorting 61s, and then taking some out at VWAP and looking for the fail underneath VWAP. Now, obviously, Nikola, you know, not really much to report in terms of earnings for them. The good news for Nikola is Elon Musk didn't take any slap shots at them personally. He was a little personal with Lucid for some reason. That's the guys that he decided to pick on. But yeah, I'm in Nikola 61s. I've been reloading that price, and then every single time it gets down to the evens, I take some out, looking for a flush into the low of the day. Tesla, I think, is VWAP in the other direction, looking to short pops this afternoon. The market has certainly decided it wanted to go red.
Yeah.
You know, it just right at a moment. It is what it is, because like I felt like I'd gone to a very patient long in Palantir. That was probably the most disciplined one I'd had all day, and it was starting to go, but the market didn't give a damn. Darn, and decided to stop me out on that last one in Palantir.
All right, Tesla. Okay, so yeah, as Neil mentioned, this one started me off on the wrong foot, you know, because honestly, we had written down right there 183 short. It was our trade idea number 2 with Palantir 2150 long. Like Palantir's right here. We shouldn't even have a red mark on Palantir today. It's so stupid. But yeah, Tesla, once we missed it, we missed it. Honestly, I don't really know what else to say. There's 183. And we had it written down. It goes $4 almost immediately down into 179 immediately off the open. So again, lots of sell pressure early China worries, downside for Tesla. Now as the market breaks lower, I just feel sick to my stomach. So definitely a missed opportunity there with Tesla. We nailed it, which makes me feel good. But at the end of the day, we don't have the trade. So, you know, those who can't teach, and we're trying to do both. So right there, we should have had 183 short. Marked it down, didn't put it out there. I don't even really have any explanation for that one. So yeah, catalyst was there for the downside, so no surprise, Tesla's down 3.4%. We called it. It was one of the only short ideas we had written on here. We had Tesla short, and that's it. We only had one short idea today, Tesla, and missed it. So my bad on that, and it sucks. I'm gonna try to go long Nvidia here. We've gone long a bunch of times. We were short, long into here. Watch out for 900 coming back in for Nvidia, but down 2%. The market, I don't know if it's gonna hold or not. We just missed a bid. We're at 01s. It went to 0107 there. We're at 0102, like honestly. But that's our day today. So let's wait to see if it comes back in. That's crazy that we just missed that by 5 cents. Oh man. All right, back over. Let's go talk about Apple. We had a big winner right now on Apple at least, so let's go talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do some recap here of this event today as well. First off, we are brought to you by our friends at Blue Chew. Guys, remember the good old days when you were always ready to go? Well, those days don't have to be over. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in a convenient chewable tablet and at a fraction of the cost. Sign up today at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and you'll receive prescriptions discreetly delivered to your door within days. No awkward doctor's visits, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and shipped directly to you, and we've got a special deal for you. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code TraderTV at checkout. Pay $5 for shipping. BlueChew.com, promo code TraderTV. Let's recap here. For Apple today, I mean, as I said when we came on here at 2 o'clock, I don't think there's anything anyone wasn't expecting from this event today. The one cool note that I saw was this new iPad Air is the thinnest device they've ever made, period, across the board. So I think that alone will do wonders for it.
Yeah, and apparently this M4 processor is a real beast here, Brendo. It's able to render on the same capacity as a powerful desktop, and they do skip from the M3. They go from the M2 to the M4 straight on the iPad, so they never even had the M3 chip there. So good luck. Overnight, though, we heard that in addition to the M4, there is another processor under development specifically for data center AI, which caused Apple to pop there in the aftermarket yesterday. I did like I know that this is really not that important of a product, but I did like the Apple Pen and the way that you can manipulate it. So you can spin it in a way and it does different things.
Yeah.
And if you do different gestures with it, pressure it, you get different options. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's. I was reading too. There's actual haptic responses within the pen itself. All can be yours for, what was it, $129 for a pen?
Jeez.
Damn. And they'll sell out too.
Yeah, it's not a pen.
Yeah,
it goes with it. It's an added thing. That is a pen. I mean, look, if you want nice things, you got to pay. You got to pay for it.
This is a pen, right? Like it writes a little bit of ink, and that's it.
But will not work on your iPad.
It does. Well, I mean, it has this little thing that I can press.
Oh, it does have one of those.
Yeah, it's got one of these, so I can, and it's actually not even that good, and I can press on it. But come on, that's not what we're getting at here. And what makes Apple great is that people will spend money on it at the end of the day. I don't have a trade on Apple, so when you talk about Apple, I'll come back to. We'll talk about the chips at some point. I'll work it in because I see AI there, so I'll just say something about AI and chips after.
Yeah, I think once I thought the event was done here. We had lost early on that one. Then we kind of just went back and forth here until eventually we fell back into the 200 period and then took the long. So, I mean, realistically, I said this at the beginning of the day, it's not on the sticky note here for a reason. I didn't want to trade Apple into the event. Once it was over, we were looking to get long. That worked. Then it didn't, and it broke the bottom there at 182, so we wound up getting out. Then we fell back into the 200 period moving average, bought that up. Look, held, broke, right? Yeah, not much action there, but a dip into it, generally speaking, I like that trade all the way up to VWAP. So that, you know, that was well taken for sure there on Apple. So I would say let sleeping dogs lie, honestly. I think this name has a real good chance of going in June. But you're going to have to wait for that. The Worldwide Developers Conference coming through. I mean, their phone is going. So there's a thing, I guess. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they disappoint and don't do anything, then obviously that's going to be a monstrous problem. So then the stock gets absolutely killed. But I really feel like better than expected numbers. They came with the heat there. Services popping through the roof. I really like Apple here, and I think it can work. I mean, I wouldn't dip buy this until like 178, 175, something like that into this protection, into the 50-period moving average. But for right now, let's see if it holds the 200. I like long Apple as long as we are above 180. Then I like the long for Apple. So pretty simple stuff there, but it's got to be above 180 Apple.
Yeah, look, Apple for me it just didn't, it's like everything else, man. Didn't get to the level that I wanted to short, so didn't short it. It had to make a pretty big move going into that presentation for me to want to trade it around there. It didn't happen, but there's a learning experience for me today. It's like, okay, well, still at basically the same stock that's been good all day long, but the mistake is there was a point at which I could have had this be the AMD, be the stock I traded the most. There was a point that could have been true, and then I allowed Palantir to like overtake it again in terms of actual trades. And that was a bit of a mistake because the read, even when I was wrong on AMD, the read was good. When AMD failed the high, I shorted VWAP and it worked. And we had a scalp trade that was kind of good, and then small winning trade because we took profit inside of the range. Then it put in a lower high and just went to the VWAP trade one more time. Obviously if it gets to VWAP, I'm going to trade it again. But the patience, like there's a moment right in here before we came back when I was like, oh yeah, higher low on Palantir. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go into that long because it's a higher low on Palantir. But it was actually a reload opportunity at the exact same time on AMD, which was my top stock. When I sat down this morning, Palantir was the stock I intended on trading the most. However, by the time I got to 130, it was pretty clear AMD should have been the stock that if I had to choose in that moment, which one do I want to get back into, it should have been AMD. So that's always a bit of a learning experience. You can come into the day thinking that this is going to be the stock I trade the most of, but you shouldn't always be married to that notion after 1 o'clock. So I'm going to short pops in AMD. It's down 1%. The market is up 0.1. It's relatively weak. Just needs to make a pop here. Doesn't have to get to VWAP now, not the way it's going though.
All right, Disney downside as well in a big way today. We mentioned it pre-market right out of the gate. It was just absolutely clobbered here. We actually opened way down here. So a lot of this is pre-market action this morning. It did open and continue. Downside trying to bounce right now, but not a good day here for Disney. What is it? 9.7% right now.
That's a tough look. I wonder if we see Nielsen, Pelt, and Trian again making another appearance with the proxy fight now that it's down again. Anyway, here's how they did. They missed on the top line. They did a little bit better on the bottom line. Earnings didn't come in as aggressively as the street was looking for, but in one division where a lot of attention is paid, specifically streaming, they actually turned a profit of $47 million this year on the quarter. Compare that to last year around this time, Brendo, they lost almost $600 million with streaming. They were able to eke out a profit this time.
Yeah, unfortunately not enough for the revenue side of things. This just came out at 2 o'clock, I saw as well. PGA Tour of America and Penn teaming up on a sports betting agreement. Penn is ESPN, obviously, so a Disney tie, but not until 2026.
You know what? At least today I was only going to make an SSR bounce play. I actually waited for it to go exactly SSR, took the one shot at that price, and it gave you the chance. I obviously am going to hold on to some for VWAP here, and it's so far down. It's easier to see this way. So it holds on to 105 right in here, makes that bottom. This is where it goes short sell restricted, underneath 104.80, grabbed it back through the evens, took some out for profit, trailed some out at the same price when it looked like it wasn't going to hold. And then from there, it's like tighten up the stop to break even. Let's try to hold it in for VWAP. That was a bit greedy, but everything kind of went to plan, and then I stopped trading it. But I'm going to make this other point. I actually sold my Disney to put it into Netflix, which was kind of like a net nothing burger. Like, they both kind of went up after I did it. But after that quarter, Disney at $96, when you factor in, you know, what's going on with their parks in terms of the growth there and the things that I think they're getting right. If this is going to pull back to like $95, $96 and bounce off the 200-period moving average, I'm going to see a trade down there. I'm not saying it gets there. Obviously, this is only halfway through that gap. But if we find ourselves there in a couple of days or weeks, that 96 looks awfully appealing. How this handled the 200-period moving average on the daily before, I think, was pretty impressive in the first place.
Yeah, we've been longing Disney for a minute. Obviously not great to have this action all the way to the downside here, but that's why we always talk about making sure to take some profit when you're in longer term trades. So a name we're up on today, it's not going to be too many of those, but Disney right here, a good one, honestly. We had that early, that little dip buy when it flushed right off the open into the pre-market actually at 8:30 when the call started. Nice flush in, took that out for some wins, been buying the bottoms here. And we did get out when it broke 105 that last time. So a nice move back up. Basically all our money was made kind of on that last bump there. It doesn't look like it's a major trade, but it was pretty good. Buying, so getting stopped out there, then buying that back up off that bottom of 105. So then eventually it breaks lower. We're up on Disney today. I don't know, still down that 10%. If the market can't get going here, then it's not really going to matter anyways. But I don't know, downside move for Disney, buy it maybe 104. I don't think we're going to get down there. So for me, really no more trades on Disney today. I still like the long. I'm not selling anything down here. Not a horrible quarter, but not great. See some down sales there on theme parks. We talked about that yesterday. At some point, people aren't going to be able to afford what Disney's trying to throw down. So I'm a little cautious for sure on Disney moving forward. Watch out for DIS. Still like the name. We're long much lower than this. We took some out, 12s, 15s, 21.50. But yeah, not a nice day here today for Disney shareholders. But it's earnings season, so 'tis the season.
All right, I'll throw your question back at you here. What do you think of this Rivian Apple stuff? Because, I mean, you asked me that when we sat down here this afternoon. My simple answer is see the chart.
Yeah, the market.
I think the market tells you what to think about this Rivian Apple stuff.
It's foreshadowing, I guess, what happens here. That no deal, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. I even said to Brendo, I'm like, Executive Vice President RJ Scaringe at Apple, right? Gets, in case the buyout there. Look, obviously, we heard initially about their cancellation of the Apple Car, but the Apple Car, Brendo, they insisted that it not have a steering wheel. And when they saw that, full self-drive was not really a forthcoming technology, they dropped the entire thing. So is that a reason for them to pick up a regular manufacturer? It doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And let's be honest, there wasn't any significant detail behind this. It was more collaboration talk, whatever that means. So who knows? But yeah, clearly it's not a thing.
Well, I mean, the opening candle volume was pretty significant, and there was decent volume in the pre-market, so it might make sense for somebody who wanted to get out before earnings. That makes a little bit of sense for that story. And we were sort of talking about this one in the context of it didn't seem like it made a lot of sense to anybody, but it was up there. It was at resistance, kind of, but not really. It didn't really get to 1160. Like, I thought the lower high in here, 1160, would have been the spot for me. GameStop continues to go higher. We'll get there in a second. But 1160 looked like it would have been that level. Just another name that didn't quite give that push. You had to be short this one pretty much. Like, when the market opened at 9:30, you needed to be short Rivian if you wanted to get it anywhere within the first 7% of the move. And from there, it's continued to go lower and lower. It's still got a decent short float, so anything can happen on earnings, but not very good for them. Just very quickly, GameStop, which I had the breakout trade on, didn't go, is now breaking out again. GameStop absolutely flying. If you're looking at this on the daily, $17.50 is where this has gone twice and failed. If it gets through $17.50 this time, I guess it's going streaking through the quad, GameStop.
Yeah, it just keeps on going. Not till June 5th, earnings for GME as that continues.
They'll buy this, but not dips on quality companies.
To go higher there.
Market, baby.
Yeah, it's not investing.
No, I kid around.
All right, what are we talking about? Rivian. All right, so funny thing about Rivian, regardless, as soon as that story hit, I was like, okay, where are we going long? Because we're sure as heck not taking anything up here. We found 1050, thought that it could hold. But at the end of the day, when we thought negatively about this company and about that, that rumor, knew it wasn't going to, well, it still could be something, but up where it was today, no, on that. So again, not performing well, Rivian, still the company you thought it was, and down now after being up almost, or more than 10% at one point today, now red. So Rivian, we should have been short instead of trying to catch a falling knife. That is RIVN, Rivian, a stock that is going to be under a lot of fire. Lucid reported as well, and their numbers speak for themselves, down 16%. Man, this EV space is pretty bad. Glad we're still in Ford, but not really. And then, not really
GM's
glad.
not
And
bad.
then GM also, we're still in that, but still not really happy about anything. So we'll have to wait to see what's going on with all of these stocks as they all just continue to be pretty weak. But yeah, I mean, GM at least is trying to hold and looking like, bang, bang, bang. This actually looks okay.
It's actually the best
As
looking.
compared to Ford, for sure.
I mean, Ford's chart's not necessarily. You're comparing, when you compare EV charts, anything with a legacy business isn't a heaping pile of what.
Right.
General Motors chart looks fantastic. It's just if you're chasing this one, I don't know. I don't know about chasing that stock. That said,
Nvidia's at 900, and I just got filled down here at 901.
900. Wow.
We had tried to go.
I gotta get in.
Yeah, we had tried to go long on this, but here it goes. It's gonna. They're stacking it. It's gonna break. This is gonna be another L. It looks like for your boy here. Well, it's right back to flat. I don't know where to get out of this one. Honestly, it's not looking super healthy. We'll get some out at 901. They're stacking this offer. I don't know. I'm gonna get out if it breaks 900. We are very close to doing that, man. I don't know. All right, well, we'll take an out there at 901.50. Hopefully it will come back up. We're just getting out like 10% at a time here. I don't know. Trying it at 900. I mean, the market's not even that bad, but Nvidia sure is. Yeah, not a nice move down here. All right, let's see what happens. Looks like it's going to break 900, and then we're out. The problem is the slippage is huge. The spread is already 80 cents. So watch, there it goes. When this breaks 900, I'm scared about, there, it got filled. I don't even want to look where. But a hit there on Nvidia. Yeah, we got 899.20s there. That's how bad that was. All the way to the downside. So an absolute disaster strikes me again on Nvidia. So nice downside push there. We got 899.20s, lose 80 cents there. On not even slippage, just as expected there to the downside. So bad as we go all the way back up.
Yeah, speaking of, I said I wanted to short a pop in Tesla. It's not going to be VWAP. It's going to be previous support into resistance, kind of the other way we set things up. There's the morning support right at 10 o'clock. It bottomed out at 178.30. It just bounced back into that level. So I'm short here at the evens.
How it goes.
Just going to the 15-minute chart here, guys, so you can see. The bottom post-move is 176. You're already kind of breaking through not yesterday's low, but Friday's low, and then the morning bottom here at the 178 level. I looked over, I'm like, okay, is there a trade in AMD? Because I want to be back into the short on AMD. Didn't really see a great setup. It has to be a little bit closer to 154.80 in and around this lower high on AMD. Got to have a setup to get short this name, but this is something, it's worked for me short the entire way, and if we're going to be giving things up, then I think this should be a name that we're jumping into the short. GameStop is slowing down for all of the, for everyone looking to chase this move. It just did the wick at 17, so it does, again, it does not get to 17.5. The reason I don't want to be long up at the top is look at the rejections of 17.5. It's one thing if you're long 16 to 16.5, there's room for it to go. Otherwise, you're either dip buying into 16 for me or breaking it out that top. If it gets to 17.5, all you know what can break loose. I don't want it in the middle of that ether or whatever you want to call this. It's just a huge void in between like 16.6 and 17.4. It's either breaking the top or try to dip buy it off of some consolidation. You had a previous close at about 16.25. I think that could be a little something as well. Michel Hebert, stop orders are risky.
Yep.
I mean, everything in trading is risky, but trading without a stop order, I think, is riskier. Like I mean, there was an IPO, and we had this conversation where I don't remember which one, I don't remember exactly which IPO.
Yeah.
But everybody on the floor, more or less, was trading off the same big key price level. I used a different type of stop order, and everybody had the stop in the right spot. But I ended up getting slipped double what everybody else did because the order I used was a little bit slower. But I'd still rather that than not have had one, because I think I lost 40 cents instead of 20 cents, which mattered that day. But if I didn't use a stop order, I'm punching out 80 cents. So yeah, it's risky. The stop order I used had more slippage, but not using a stop in certain situations gets you in a world of hurt. So I'm always going to have a stop. Speaking of which, Tesla just ran that one. So again, I want short pops. We're just getting into Tesla. I want short pops in AMD. We saw the setup we liked in Tesla, but it couldn't hold that consolidation bottom. Gonna have to wait for it to either roll over, get to VWAP, show me a little something there. Rivian Millionaire saying CLH. I have not looked at that CLH stock. I know Adaro was all over it, but the only small cap stock that I've really been involved in today. You had Nikola, we've been in some Peloton, and I'd like to be involved in GameStop if it remotely sets up. But you're seeing it pull back in here. I think the 17 rejection has to settle itself down a bit.
All right. I mean, of course, we're done. Yeah. So, of course, on Nvidia, we absolutely make the bottom again. Like, there's so many stocks like this I could show you today where this happened. But we got back in and took about $1 and change. We're long now at $900.74 on this name, just trying to play off that wick bottom. A lot of candles there. I've sort of zoomed back out a little bit on the NASDAQ. Unfortunately, there isn't many levels here for us to look at on the way up. Like, we're not anywhere near this. So we're kind of just floating in the middle. I almost feel like there is some more risk back into 18.1 and then 18,000. Wouldn't be surprised if we test this level, especially if earnings don't go like super well tonight. We could be back down into the downside there, considering the market movement today. We had a decent day yesterday in the NASDAQ, up about 1%, but today giving a little bit back, but still pretty flat. Considering we had the Apple event, we have Nvidia down two and a bit today. Not really nice there. AMD not being led by the same group of stocks today, although it's a flat day. So it's not like we have to really worry too much about what's going on, but the market's reacting and it's going lower. We're still making lows. Generally speaking, so making lows right now. Generally speaking, we're short in the afternoon, so it's a little different for me today to be holding on to some of these longs. I think it's just because some of these levels on some of these stocks just seem to be like holding out. Like they're at these lows. It's like, is it going to hold? Is it going to hold? Are we going to get a turnaround? Like Nvidia at 900. It's just like, okay, I think we want to be here in case we do get the move back to VWAP, but that's like an in case thing. It does not look like that wants to do that. The market's still pushing lower. When we're under VWAP, okay, I got to address this. When we're under VWAP and under the 50-period moving average, we should be looking short, not long. So now you're really fighting an uphill battle looking the wrong way. So watch out now. We're long at 900 on Nvidia.
Unless you're in some kind of funky, like small cap stock
Yeah.
that doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go long GameStop or anything, but exactly these are the types of afternoons where if you find one of those going, they can provide you. If you got to go long only, then maybe you look at one of those. So I did make that little local wick high on Tesla. It sets up right back at the same level, so right back under 78, and I get in again. Stop to the same level, trying to add to it if I can get some money fills over the 178, but just jumping right back into it. I just double check. I keep seeing a lot of people saying Palantir is making higher lows. Oh, it's tempting.
It's starting to go a little bit.
It is. Like the fact it's holding higher lows. It's no longer participating with the market. And if it gets to VWAP, I'm sitting here like I don't want it to do it without me. But the long has got to be off 21.45, and I feel like I'm not getting the risk to reward I like. Fazia asking Uber thoughts. Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's already breaking lower Uber. My concern with them was going to be, we've already talked about the whole robo-taxi thing and being under pressure. It gave up support today. This is another stock. I was like, why did I think everything was going to pop at the open way more? Because I thought this was a short in front of 74, the 50-period moving average on the daily. Uber didn't even come remotely close before tanking. So it's one of those days where you just didn't get your fills. If you really wanted to short pops today, you had to short whatever the nearest pop was on most stocks at the open. Pre-market highs, previous close, you couldn't be waiting for like old resistance levels to come in there and give you those perfect fills. And AMD is not going to pop either, apparently.
No.
AMD, another huge drop. Yeah. Am I taking breakdown trades? Like, am I even dollar breaks at the low of the day? Never do those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We don't have huge people, huge companies reporting tonight, but see what's happening on Nvidia. Like right now, we're in the money again, $1. And okay, finally, I was gonna say, but it doesn't want to get going again. It just hits and comes back down, hits and comes back down. We just got some out there at 900, like almost flat there for that position. So let's see now. I mean, like as in 900 flat, we got 899. 97 there, like so stupid. All right, so let's see now what we can get to the upside here if we want to go. So now it's 898. So see what I mean? We just get it out. It's starting to go. We have that nice bottom pick there. Starts to go and then completely stops. Now going lower. The market's going lower. So, you know, to sit here one last chance against that bottom tick that we have here for Nvidia, and then it's like, okay, white flag time on that one. You guys mentioned Palantir. Yeah, we're finally back into a flat position on Palantir. We are long now at 2150. I'm trying to find, I have so many different positions. 2156, so right here is actually our position. So we're in it waiting for it to come back up. Like, come on, Palantir, you're down 14%. Will the market finally find a footing? Not sure. Google's come back in a little bit as well. We just got filled on VWAP right there. Last chance for me, and then we start to flip it. We have to start to go short at some point. What do I think about Nvidia 1000? Yeah, I mean, their earnings aren't until the end, right? It's May 18th or something like that. Let me just double check here.
22nd.
22nd, okay, yeah, I was going to say we're getting much closer to it now.
Only 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah, so May 20, when I said the 18th, I was like, wait a minute, that's pretty close. So we'll wait to see. I mean, Nvidia could be well north of 1,000 by the time earnings even get there. So I don't want to make a call of where it's going. I do think Nvidia is going higher. And that's not just because I'm long now. I just looking at the stock. I mean, this looks pretty good. You know, we had a 22% pullback. Breakthrough, man. Like, should I just get one more piece here? Like, look at it. Go. Get yourself through the level, Nvidia, or not, or yes. All right, nice little move back. Where is this 50 period here on Nvidia? 904. All right, let's go to 902.50. See if we can get a piece out up there. That'd be pretty lucky if we're able to do that. Let's go to 901 at first, get that fill first, and then go up to 902 and see if we can grab that there. So, yeah, 90210. Yeah, good one. Nice opportunity there. Apple, again, starting to get back upside. We'll take some more outs on Apple, but it's really just Nvidia. You know, we've made back like 20% or so of what we've lost on it all the way down. So, again, in being trying to be a little bit bullish, maybe we go back up to the upside, but again, we've taken some out. We're out of 30% of this trade. It's a good one, though, but we've been hit on it so far, so not the most fantastic trade here on Nvidia. Oh, we just got a piece. Okay, that's good.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Nvidia had, even before it got to earnings, there would be room for like another leg down that holds a higher low after that first flush. I just got into GameStop, so give it a 1640 stop, and let me try to complete the thought on my daily chart of Nvidia. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you could still reverse here if that's what's, in fact, obviously that's what's happening. You could get back under the 50. You could make some kind of a higher low off of 18. Like, all kinds of things can happen in 2 weeks, and it wouldn't be surprised if there was another, like, deeper dip buy is the best way to think about it, because the 800s is like a 10% move away. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw something like that on Nvidia, the way things turn around. So GameStop is up 2.5%. If you can't beat them, join them. Although that's kind of ridiculous because I didn't actually go short GameStop, and I didn't go to short GameStop yesterday, or I might have, maybe I shorted it this day. But anyways, didn't go short it, so I'm not trying to fight them. But the higher low off of 16.4, if it gets to 17 even, taking some out, and if it gets to 17.50, getting it all out. The 17.50 level, just to remind everybody, There's that big top. It's been huge volume into this level. It's been unable to break through. If it takes out 50s, I think it's got room, at least a buck. But until that happens, I want to be long consolidation into the high and then worry about it at that point. Chuck of all trades, wow, what happened to the market? Just got back to your desk? I mean, I can't, it's hard to try to pick out like one specific thing. There was a bond auction at 1. We did have Fed speakers as well. We had Kashkari speaking in the middle of the day. You don't really want to put it all on one person. You had Nvidia kind of turn around off of a high. You had Apple fail around VWAP. I just think it was like a cacophony of nonsense that drove it lower. But we did start with bad earnings, or bad reactions to earnings, is the best way to think about it. Like, you had multiple names today that were down double digits after either mixed reports or bad reports. Disney wasn't any good. We didn't really even talk too much about Datadog. They weren't very good either. That's probably really, really nasty on DDog, down 11%. There were kernels of strength, but I just feel like the market, it was just too much. And then when the strong names, like when a strong name like Amazon made its top at 11 o'clock and it was carrying the market, I mean, Amazon was one of the stocks carrying the market. It failed into VWAP and then tried to press and then nothing doing. It was just nothing doing when it tried to hold on to VWAP. That kind of acceleration is going to drag everything down. So that's what it seems like might have happened. So short Tesla, same entry as before, that 178. And we're into some GameStop.
Oh my
God. That one tries to do its best for all of the, I guess they're not apes in GameStop. I don't know what we call them. There was I thought they had a name for
gamers. No, it's not that. All right, so we just got 902. Oh man, finally, guys, finally. So silly, man. Now we're finally starting to go. So now Nvidia's going, man. We're long at 898.50. It's $4, but still not super happy with it. We've talked about our performance here today on Nvidia. Oh man, I mean, we've made back half of what we lost, but still lost too much there battling this 905 and then battling 900 and getting like an 80-cent worth of slippage. But again, not really slippage when it's expected. But there's 903 right now for Nvidia. Nice move back as the futures are trying to go. We do have, so we should put an offer here as well, just to take some out, as we've made, like I said, we made back some. So so far so good on that one. Palantir's trying to go. This is a pretty big winner here as well for us on Apple. So let's just get out of that one. Come on, Nvidia, get back over there to 903, buddy. Maybe we can do that, maybe not. Google trying to bounce back again. Good little buy off VWAP. I mean, again, we talk about sitting sort of in your pocket and doing what you want to do, right? So there on Google is another opportunity to maybe take a piece out as we just got it 78 there on that. So again, came back into VWAP, back out at the 50 period. Next sort of area, obviously up here where we had a little bit of a stop issue there with resistance. So we'll get something out 87s. Let's just put an offer like 84. We have shares to do this. So we're just going to try to get out of like 10 or 15% of time, as you guys normally know that we do. Nvidia, let's freaking go. One more time. It's a face slapper. It's $5 in the money right now for NVDA. So yeah. So far, so good. Hopefully we can get it out, man. We just got that fill right there at 902.82, giving us that 903. Next stop, right into here, 905. So let's really see if Nvidia can sort of turn my frown completely upside down. Oh, yeah. Whenever you got a $5 winner on board, it is a frown upside downer turner-er.
Upside down turner-er.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a smiley facer.
Smiley facer. Upside down.
And we got
turner-er.
new coffee.
You never heard upside down turner-er before?
Yeah, it's like an Apple turnover, except for it's upside down.
It's a trading term.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a specific trading term. When you get the absolute bottom and you got the pure trend reversal, it's an upside down turner-er.
Turner-er.
Yeah. Turner-er is the key word.
Turner-er.
Way to say it.
No, I think it was.
No, I'm just no, but it's a good one. And the thing is, it's at the 50 period now. The market just wicked the bottom. We'll get to
Palantir's finally starting to go, by the way.
I did take that first out in front of 17 on GameStop, and the market, the NASDAQ, just wicked the opening range. like right in here bottoms. So wicked underneath and then regain that support. So if it is going to make a relief rally,
all right, whatever.
This is the time to do it. Market, hold on to these gains is what you got to do. You also know what we got to do.
I'm taking a 904.
Frank.
It is Tuesday afternoon. There he is, Frank Caberna, joining us once again from IG over in Chicago to touch on what's been an eventful, not only couple of days, but even if you go back to the end of last week, since last we spoke, I guess, Frank, a lot has changed. And let's be honest, we were going into that print on Friday, the non-farm payrolls print, pointing in the opposite direction. It comes out way lighter than expected. I think a lot of people, including you and I, were talking about, it's going to be over 300. It's just a matter of how much over 300 this time, and not the case whatsoever.
Yeah, so quickly these things change. It was, the FOMC of last week, everybody on more of a hawkish tone, a higher for longer interest rate tone. And then, of course, non-farm comes out well under the expectations of 240,000 and well under. I mean, look at how small that print of 175, which, I mean, if you take out a lot of the noise of the last year or so in terms of employment, 175 is still a relatively strong, healthy number, but looks so bad compared to the last 4 months, the previous 4 months prior to this April number, all coming in well higher than 200. And of course, that March number higher than 300. The stock market loved it on Friday, almost every asset class moving higher, including, currencies against the US dollar got hit, bond markets, everything was rallying, interest rates are moving lower. And this week, seeing a little bit of continuation of that trend, but some more general uneasiness, I would say, across, I'm sure you guys have covered across stocks, but also we're seeing here midway through today that interest rates are actually starting to see a little bit of a bounce, and that US dollar is also starting to see a bounce. Unfortunately, not so much data here this week, but it does set up for what'll be a really interesting next couple of data points inflation-wise, and we will have that CPI next week, because now you do have a bit of a tough situation for the Fed, right? I mean, they're looking at employment and inflation are their two primary metrics that they want to keep employment strong and keep inflation in check. And until this most recent non-farm, Powell's been able to lean against a strong employment market to say, okay, we'll keep interest rates a little bit higher for a little bit longer than we thought to really make sure inflation is in check. And he felt good about that higher for longer rhetoric because employment was still so strong. It'll be interesting to see now with a weaker number than we've seen the last 4 months, employment-wise, if inflation comes out higher than expected again next week, that puts Powell in a really tough situation. Whereas if inflation does tick lower, then maybe we do start to get these rate cuts rolling in as soon as September.
He's been the one that's been reiterating the fact they want to see more data. They want to see, or they need to see more data, indicating that they are moving in a, whatever his wording was, controlled way towards 2%. Is this just a blip, or is this the first of many to come? As you're alluding to, coming up just next week, we get this very next CPI print that could be on the back of last week's non-farm number. Again, I feel like we're just 180 the opposite direction here from what we were saying last week. In that, and I think it's a good point to make in the sense, Frank, that things can change really, really quickly, even on a month-to-month basis. We referenced the simple fact that going into that non-farm last week, that is a delayed data point. And all of these numbers, let's face it, are very delayed, but that is what they look at when they make these decisions.
Great point on the delayed part of this. And also, I do want to hit on that blip factor, because one of these, a month from now, the next FOMC rolls around, one of these numbers will be a blip. And it will either be that non-farm number or it will be the inflation that we got last month. And yeah, here you have quickly the chances of a rate cut in September skyrocketed from below 50% to now 65%, and now more than a 90% chance that we get some rate cut here this year. And remember that when I jumped on with you last week, Brendan, those odds of rate cuts at some point this year were closer to 70%. So now above 90%, the market shifting since that non-farm. But a great point by you. And I do want to kind of rein this in a little bit, because though the market in the last 48 hours of trading, the last 2-3 days of trading, has shifted back closer to rate cuts this year, from everything that you see, that non-farm that we just got, that's most likely the blip on the radar of everything, especially if CPI, if inflation comes in next week in the mid-3 handle, then I think that will reflect on that non-farm and what Powell might think of it, because keep in mind, everybody just puts words in Powell's mouth relative to that weak non-farm number. He hasn't come out and said, oh, employment, we saw this downtick, and so now we're really going to cut rates in 2024. If inflation is still in the mid-3s next week, doesn't tick lower, or doesn't tick lower by as much as they expect, and yeah, you see here the upticks that we've gotten all year so far from the CPI inflation rate in the U.S., if that number stays in that mid-3 handle, like I say, I don't think that non-farm number is going to be as meaningful. I think this number will far outweigh the sentiment we've been getting the last 2 or 3 trading days. And you're seeing that in the market, I think, today. Like I say, some uneasiness in stocks here, as there, a handful of stocks trading in the red here today, and the stock market seeming like it wants to trade negative. But also interest rates, they got hit on Friday, and here coming out of the weekend, they're starting to see a little bit of a bounce here. And like I say, that non-farm number might end up being that blip on the radar. Otherwise, we'll continue to move onto this rate cutting path that's starting to form. If we do get a CPI next week that is closer to 3% or lower, then to your point, that might push Powell to move quickly, because if he has a down employment number and a down inflation number, then he might start to feel like they're feeling in Europe and in Australia and a little bit in Canada, but not so much with you guys still relatively strong. But that idea of stuff is moving lower, employment and GDP and inflation, and we need to cut interest rates before it really moves lower. So that inflation next week will really either confirm what markets have been doing in reaction to the non-farm, or it will completely price out what we've seen in the last 48 hours of trade.
And I think it's going to take something outside of, as you were saying, either much, much higher or much, much lower to make that happen, in the sense that just looking at this chart that we just had up there, you got to go back to, June of last year. We've been stuck in this, 3 kind of area, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth since June of last year. So, if it's not a 3.8, 3.9, maybe pushing even 4, or a very, very low 3 number, it's probably just going to be more of the same, as you were alluding to. But I want to get your opinion here on some of the Fed speak we've had since then. Even Neil Kashkari coming out today, still kind of towing the line, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. On one hand saying they'll stay high as long as they need to, and hey, they'll even raise if they need to. But then on the other hand saying he still thinks there's possibility of a rate cut this year.
Yeah, everybody's still towing that line, like you allude to there, and I think it is because we are stuck in this relatively tight range inflation-wise, and employment isn't pushing their hand to start cutting rates. Now, like I said, if that employment number that we just got isn't the blip, if we do get an inflation print that's much lower than expectation next week, and US GDP, and we just got lower than expected US GDP data a week or two ago, US GDP data and the next run of employment data all points lower, then I think that will solidify one or two cuts in the remaining FOMC meetings of the year. But yeah, I mean, to Kashkari's point, at this juncture, we have now gotten into May. Let's say there's 4 full months of economic data in the US. And if you're sifting through 3 or 4 major economic data events per month, you've got yourself, 20, 25 data points, and only really 2 or 3 of them were pointing towards the need for rate cuts, and the rest of them overwhelmingly pointing towards holding or moving higher. And so, though it's been, an interesting reaction from the worst non-farm that we've gotten in 4-5 months, it is right now, to me, looking like that's the blip, and interest rates will probably catch their footing here, and there might be some more downside for the stock market, because it's bounced back very quickly to near all-time highs, and if that's all on the back of interest rates definitely moving lower in 2024, I'm not sold on it.
Yeah, quite a reversal even today as far as interest rates are concerned. Long-dated interest rates bouncing back, even intraday. Let's zoom out here a little bit, talk some global. Coming up, Thursday morning here, we get a decision from the Bank of England. They've also been hanging out above 5% here for quite some time.
Yeah, it's definitely been the U.S. and then England and Canada in terms of some of the strongest interest rate and economic environments globally, and then right behind them, the Euro area and Australia when it comes to major economies. And so this Bank of England meeting on Thursday morning will be very interesting, whereas, the Australian central bank meeting that we got last night, for example, not so interesting. I think that markets globally will listen to what the central bankers in the UK have to say, and that'll be Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern. And as you can see, very similar chart to the US, hiking from 0% north of 5%. And their economic data has been very similar to the US recently as well. Inflation in the low to mid 3s. And so not down at that 2% number that they might want to start cutting. But if we get any lean whatsoever from the central bankers in the UK, I think we will see that play out we'll definitely see it play out in interest rate and Forex markets, but that might be enough to shake up stocks on a relatively low news week here on the whole for US data. And to your point with interest rates starting to bounce back here midday, US dollar is starting to bounce back midday as well, as that pound, after the FOMC especially spiked up to above 126, now back down to 125. And keep in mind that, the 123, 124, 125 area for pound dollar has been similar to the 106, 107 area for euro, which has been coinciding with highs in interest rates as well. So all these markets moving with the synergy to them. And if we get, like I say, a dovish tone out of the UK, you might see that US dollar spike again and really regain the strength that we saw prior to last week's non-farm. And you might see the stock market move one way or the other on Thursday morning. If you do see some movement, it'll likely be the central bankers in UK.
A lot of people looking for some finality. I mean, there's been a lot of comments or questions, I guess, in regards to, do they end up raising the finish line here or shortening the finish line maybe, as to where they need to get to as far as inflation in the US? Give me your opinion here, and we're obviously just speculating, but I've had this burning thought in the back of my head for quite some time now that if he sees a 2.0 print on PCE specifically, he calls it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's funny, we bring in the global piece mostly because you do get the idea that these central bankers absolutely talk, and they're all waiting for the first one to budge, to almost make it okay to start cutting interest rates. And then I think you'll end up seeing one of them cut rates, and almost all of them follow suit. Whether that's the Bank of England or the ECB or the Fed, only time will tell. We'll see on Thursday morning. But I'm with you 100% that the minute that you see that 2% print, they will move rates lower. And it's because you nailed it earlier. These are backward-looking metrics, and the real fear, especially the big move you saw to the upside in stocks and downside in interest rates on Friday, even though that non-farm number isn't that crazy, 175 is relatively normal, is because the fear is that these backward-looking metrics really turn over quickly, and the Fed or the Bank of England or the ECB or whoever starts cutting a month or 2 months later than they would have liked. And so, yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that if you see, PCE and core CPI, some of these metrics print under 2.5%, then you might get your cut then. But yeah, the minute that it prints 2%, I think you will have already gotten your first cut, or you're definitely getting the next one.
Great stuff. More to come, as always, on this back and forth kind of roller coaster we go with inflation and Mr. Powell. Frank Caberna, Director of Strategy over at IG in Chicago. Appreciate the time, as always.
Thanks, Brennan.
Thanks as always, Frank. Who's going to blink first? The ECB did a little bit of a blink themselves, and now we'll see what happens with the Fed. But yeah, I agree they get that too. I mean, if they get exactly what they said they've been looking for, why wouldn't you call it? But at the end of the day, you're here to react. Don't anticipate, participate as a trader. Obviously in your long term, it's a little bit different. Just for everyone in there, I did get out of GameStop at the first sign of weakness at 17. It made a high. I wicked it out back underneath 17.15. Actually wasn't a quarter where I had it, but it's holding up pretty nicely. So good for GameStop. It's actually bouncing off 17 one more time. I paid for locates in case it makes a run at that 17.5 zone on the daily. There it is. The last few wicks have been pretty nasty off that level. So if it breaks 17.5, I'm thinking retracement short on GameStop. It's close, but not quite there just yet. But yeah, within spitting distance. I know everyone's looking, not everyone, but I know a lot of people are looking at that one. A few people said they got out of longs. If you had it early, I mean, you're deep in the money at this point. I'm always a take profit kind of person, and that's a pretty decent resistance zone that it's running into.
All right, man. Nvidia was just $6 in the money, and we're still waiting for VWAP to come through. So that high rate there was 905. We were going to wait for 905, but then right when we went to Frank, we got out there. He didn't pump the market too much. Thanks, Frank. 903.80 was our last out, but the high 904.80 or so. So we'll have to wait to see if we can get back up there. I am right now offering 905.40. So just a little bit into this area, a little bit greedy. I mean, we can get out at 905. I mean, honestly, 40 cents on a stock like Nvidia. Told you my slippage was 85 cents, so it's not a huge deal, but spreads started to tighten up a little, well, not now, with 50 cents, but one little spike up, through 905, and I believe that we get that trade. All right, so in what has been an uneventful afternoon, unfortunately, is Palantir, 2165 waiting. We just got to fill up there at 64s or 63s, hoping that it comes back in for that trade. Google still trying to work as well, waiting for a little bit higher. And then Apple, we did good to get out of this one, but still waiting for a little bit more. Coming back to 182 and change. I don't even have a stop for Apple, so I feel like this is a good level, 182.10, something like that, that little bottom. Let's see if it holds. I'm not going to stand in here, so we'll just try to hold one more time. For Apple, we're already hella long everything. I mean, here comes, all right, you know what? All right, let's just take, okay, there it is. We'll take it out. So that's, I mean, let's go, man. That's a hot dog gun right there. 897.52, out 9, well, there it goes. We were at 905.40. We got out right there at 97 on the downside there for Nvidia, as now we start to go back up. So here we go, $8 finally $8 in the money on a bunch of reloads now for Nvidia. So, oh man, it's been, I don't know how many names you've got, but we've got Disney green, Google green, and that's about it. And, you know, Apple trying to go, but doesn't look like it. Amazon's been fine, but we got dropped out right there and right there. So a couple longs not working for Amazon. But there's that 187 that we liked yesterday. Should have been there today, but we weren't. Apple just fell into the levels. So let's get ready to rock and roll. Apple just fills us long right there at 20s. Apple back in right now for a downside push.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not in GameStop short. I simply said if it failed to break at 17.5, I would look to get short. But that requires it to go there, that requires it to fail that price, that requires me to actually try to get it back through and get the fill. So a lot of things has to happen. Buffett and Boeing? All right, so first things first, Meta, VWAP. I was saying in the chat, while Frank was going on, Meta looks pretty good at VWAP if we're gonna make a nice move to the upside. And 3 consecutive candles on the 15 on my NASDAQ, that's what I see on Meta. Boeing making some moves apparently. Seeking a strategic investment from Warren Buffett is what I just heard. Not that there is one, but seeking one. Buffett's speculation on Boeing. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything to this, but seems like it would be a bit of a value play. I just got out of Tesla. We went for the reload. Probably should have done the reload, shorting at that bottom on Tesla. So got greedy, going to end up going red. I'm not getting into GameStop unless it's a failed break short, but I'm going to like Boeing here. If we can get into VWAP, that's something that could give it some juice. This stock's just looking for an excuse at this point, I think, to go to the upside. And if you're at VWAP and holding, that means there's some room for you to go. Rather be long stocks that are showing some signs of strength.
I mean, $9 in the money with Nvidia. That's not bad there. So, hold on a second. What month? All right, let's go. All right, so starting to go through now some of these plays. All right, so Palantir trying to go. We've already talked about it. I feel like right now, although we only have 20% left of our Nvidia trade, it's a big one. And this has really brought sort of us back to life here a little bit on the day. It's been definitely a tough one. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to tell you that. Apple, okay, so good reload, definitely a good reload, but at the same time, not really going either. We got some out on the upside right now on Apple. Maybe we should just look over at GameStop. Thank you so much for the super chat there from Justin. Let's trade Jamie into the close. I mean, we could do that right now. It's not a, it's not that I'm trying to avoid it. I think maybe we should trade at GameStop. I mean, like I said, not much else here flying through for me. So let's potentially look at GameStop. So a move back down to 1680 there is okay. It's tough to trade looking at everything when you're sitting here. So sometimes these trades can, get thrown off just a little bit just by trying to figure out, where your stops are, watching for big orders, and really keeping your eyes on the play. So let's keep GameStop up for a minute, see if we see any, anything off the tape or any big sort of orders show up here to sort of give us an idea of what we want to do. It's already really juicing, man. I mean, we've already talked about earnings, not for a minute. Up here, $18 could come into play. Again, another stock that was $11 mid last week, all the way up to 16. So give it about 50% of a move all the way back up and running into areas of resistance. So I think a 1750 long break is probably the next trade to make. So we'll wait to see that, or a pullback into 1620. So there's 2 trade opportunities right there that I think you can hit with your trades on GameStop. That's something that we're looking at. Other than that, it's Nvidia, it's Google. I mean, Nvidia is just $8 in the money, bouncing off of VWAP, so that could be something. This is now at 903. So if we break 903, let's get some out, as that's where the 50-period moving average is. So, hey, man, I mean, we've done really well making some money back here this afternoon on Nvidia. So I hope some of you at least have that. We did take about $1.50 or so hit on that move down, and then right back to the upside right now goes Nvidia. Let's see how far we can make this name not we can make it go. Let's see how far it goes. Maybe 9.10 back to the 200 period. That would be pretty nice. Put on a $13 winner. We'll see if we could do that. I have no more offers.
Yeah, and again, like the market is going back to the upside, but some of the depressed names, like an Nvidia off of essentially the 900 level, is looking pretty good and churning. I just got Boeing, and I want to clarify the news. It was Charlie Gasparino basically saying he's trolling at the Milken conference, and there is gossip about Buffett and Boeing. So just to be clear, this is not Warren Buffett investing in it. This is just some gossip about strategic investment potentially in Boeing from Berkshire Hathaway. It would be a value stock. If you've been paying attention to the tea leaves, apparently Berkshire Hathaway has been getting involved in some kind of financial company recently. They've been buying into lots of speculation as to who that can be. I was talking to some traders. Some people have said it's Morgan Stanley. Others speculate it could be like a TD, it could be a Schwab. But yeah, just some speculation with regards to Boeing and Mr. Buffett. Adara?
Some more details on that speculation as well. This came from Charles Gasparino, who is a media personality, journalist, and blogger. He's appeared on Fox Business News. He basically tweeted out here saying that he was at the Mikan Institute and overheard some gossip suggesting that Boeing's looking for a strategic investment. Also said some things as well about Sherry Redstone and the ongoing Paramount Skydance deal versus the Sony and Apollo deal. So that, just some context on that, very unconfirmed, overheard, and the word he uses is gossip on that potential Boeing, Warren Buffett, Berkshire deal, guys.
Yeah, good old Charlie there. That's not going to be a good. That's not going to be a good story, I don't think. Teladoc hearing some reform about healthcare and payments and all that kind of stuff. So Teladoc getting some love back there right now. Nice little upside move for TDoc right now.
Already reported.
Yeah, we might have just. Oh, wait a minute. I did not even put in that Nvidia stop. So, okay, my bad. I switched over to TDoc once I heard that news. Nvidia falling in a little bit off of VWAP. So, really no surprise there, but we got to put in our stop order breaking through 903. So, 902.99, we'll put in a stop there and get out of half of what we have left and see what our slippage is on this one. So we'll go there, 902.65. We'll change over our stop order and see if we get something a little bit different. So right there, nice move. Made some money back here in the afternoon, obviously. So far, so good here. I hope you guys are with me. Good trade on Apple. We just bought VWAP there at 20. Nice move all the way back up as well. Okay, Qualcomm selling.
Qualcomm losing their export license to China. Let's go to Adara.
Yeah, worth noting here as well with regards to keeping an eye on Apple here. Not reacting too much, but Financial Times just reporting that the U.S. is looking to revoke licenses for the supply of chips to Huawei in China. So we know Huawei, a competitor of Apple. Keep an eye on this story from the Financial Times. U.S. looking to revoke licenses for the supply of chips to Huawei, guys.
Yeah, okay. I mean, probably good news for Apple. Good call on that one as the U.S. government finally fighting back. I mean, honestly, we sit here and we're worried about what are we going to do? Like, we can't take TikTok. But, meanwhile in China, they just do whatever they want all the time. So just be really careful here with that. Good report. I like it. But again, you never know. We'll go short Intel on that news as Intel also sending chips over in there to China. Yeah. Let's see if they can get a pushback, but it does look like it's Qualcomm. I'm just going to take Intel. Yeah, Qualcomm actually gaps, but I'm going to take Intel against, that's still Qualcomm. I'm going to take Intel just against this 50 period just because it's there. It's almost a trade I don't mind. We never like punching the lows of the day. Okay, here it comes right back up. So this is where it's like, we just take a small piece. I'm not even going to average into this. If it tanks, it tanks. Right now, we'll just wait for Intel there on. That's just a story. So just like somebody heard that maybe Warren Buffett ain't investing in no Boeing. All right, let's just wait to see what happens here. Apple, nice move back up to the upside. We can maybe get a bit more out here. But, I mean, my newest position is Intel. Just watching with a keen eye. We're out if it breaks too much more through 90.
Qualcomm did give you, right there, and this is very similar to yesterday. It was 2 days ago on the Boeing. Is it 2 days ago, Boeing? Or was it yesterday? I'm trying to remember, but it doesn't really matter. Previous day low break. Essentially, when the news came out, zoom out to zero level, there was one 180.5. punched it, quickly got out, then went back into shorting into a level from previous resistance or support, and that was in the afternoon 181. And again, I like to try to find a level and then get into the trade. Qualcomm, just going to double check where they are in the daily chart, because if you're going off short-term levels, it's been making consolidation. Yeah, if it gets down to like 177.5 on the daily, that would seem like a pretty good spot to get out on Qualcomm, because that's stair step up and actually consolidating higher. So on the daily chart, 177.5 feels like as far as you're going to go here. My stop on the original on the way down was tight to 50. The stop on the reload is to 181. So now I'm just going to let that one ride. But the thing about trading news, right? Like you get into Boeing, that doesn't work. You get into Qualcomm, it does work, and we'll see if we get some follow through on that. I would suspect that's not. I mean, that's bad for Intel as well, but I mean, at the end of the day, if it's not moving as much, deemed a bigger deal, specifically Huawei, that's why it's going to hit Qualcomm a little bit harder here, unfortunately. Just going to go back over to GameStop. I'm not saying it's done, but the notion of a 17.5 failed break, it's starting to slow down. The chances of it getting $1 from here are getting more and more slim as we get to 316. That's the kind of trade I would not try. I'm not going to try to short the high if it's at like 350 in the day or even 345. It's a little bit late to want to short a pop. Generally speaking, when you're shorting a parabolic mover at the end, I'd rather it be making that high and profit taking at the end of the day, as opposed to still reaching highs in the last 15 minutes. So I'll give it a few more minutes for a chance that it runs that top, and then I don't likely take that trade if it gets there.
I don't know. I mean, we have our, what's up to Aaron Scott Matthews here. I mean, is everybody sensing that, like, when you go to other things on YouTube that we are really, really low? The volume's been, apparently everybody's saying it, the volume on our channel is really, really low. So anyways, whatever, we have a team there looking at that.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, exactly, good feedback there, and I'm glad I could bring that to our
speak into
team.
the mic.
So, no, it's not that. It has nothing to do with our mic. It's just the volume of the whole show. So, all right, so thank you for that. We will look into it right there. All right.
Almost 50.
So just real quick, now we did get some more Apple out. This has been a good reload spot down there, waiting for more, obviously. If Nvidia drips down in, we will find out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying it's low, so that's good. Thank you so much for that. There's 903. We just bounced off of that right here. So we'll wait to see if there's any sort of pushback off that 903. We are getting out. Like, look at the spread. The spread is 70 cents, if not more, when it opens up. So you could just go rant like that and all the way back. That's why we got to have stops. You have to trade with stops. So there we go. All right. So a lot of people saying volume is fine. So good. So we'll continue to look at that. Right. Yep. All good. As Ramin is looking into it right now. So thanks for that. And now Fabian's back over there. So we'll see if that happens, it gets any worse or not. Let us know, but I think it's all good. And again, adjust it on your end for sure. All right, so there it is. Good little drop down in there for Nvidia. And we get the price we wanted, I guess. We got a great price, actually, on Nvidia. Thank you so much for that. We got 902.90s. 902.93s actually there for Nvidia. So yeah, man, good fill there for NVDA. So really happy with that one coming out. So not happy because it went back down, but a good fill there. Glad we didn't mark it all the way down. So that was good. Well taken back, man. NVIDIA, we did good. We got out there. We were holding 20%. We never like to give back that basically $2, $2.50 or so, but we did it. If we keep getting out, then we don't have anything left. So we'll hold on to one small piece there just for the dream and see if we can't get something a little bit higher than where we are right now. Nvidia is still a $6 winner. Palantir still doing absolutely nothing. And Apple, I mean, we got more out there at 30. Let's just put an offer at 38 and see if we can get a fill there. But honestly, not much to do here for me into the close 320. We'll still try to find GameStop and try to find some good plays.
That's even slowed down a little bit. I'm going to get into Intel off the 90 level because it just bounced at the same time as Qualcomm tried to bounce, and Qualcomm rejected the 181 again, and Intel just did like a right turn at 3090 right in here. So I want the mids into this because Apple. It doesn't make, I don't know, this is bad for them too. I see this as bad for them as well.
Yeah, man.
And look at the chart. Like it just kind of speaks for itself at the end of the day on Intel. And down here, you've already rejected. I liked the long if it was going to break out this morning, but you completely rejected a couple of days worth of strength in Intel. And at the same time, as I mentioned, Qualcomm had made a bit of a rebound back into that 181, and it started to slow down again. So it bounced, found a rejection right here at 180.80. Bit of a coincidence, this is kind of where I'm short, but in front of that 181, and it pulled right back into 180. So I like these shorts into the close. Nacho asking about Clover. Do they report? Is that why we'd be talking about Clover? If you're watching, there was a lot of people asking about Reddit. Reddit is on its way to $50. I don't know if there's a trade there. Volume's pretty low. Clover does report aftermarket. That explains why you want to know about Clover. We don't hear about that name at all. They report post-market. I don't know a heck of a lot about them. 13% short float. Like, we can look at the stock. I shouldn't say I've never traded, because I'm pretty sure during like meme days and stuff, we traded the stock for sure. But back above, that'll be like the 50 period moving average. It's trying to go. It's got a decent short float, but then you actually have to have the report tomorrow, which has got to say something good for these guys. My first thought is, can it make a run at $1? And then if there's a dollar trade, I'm all like, look at what it does at $1, trying to hang on for life and stay, I guess, in the NASDAQ at that particular point. But yeah, the dollar trade would be nice if it gets up there on Clover tomorrow, but not really much else. It's report aftermarket, not sure what time, so it'll be on the radar if it makes a run at that buck tomorrow.
Yeah, just for everybody there, including Adrian, including Neil, including everybody, man, the water is warm here on Intel. So let's see if we can get to the downside again. Trade a name that is weak with news. The only thing we did was not get patient enough, but I'm glad that we're all here now with Intel short. I think we like this trade coming in now. So I wish there was more love for Apple. I mean, this has been a great trade here, back up to the upside now. I mean, just buying it. Like, this is the thing. Again, everybody will trade different, but like, we'll put just as many shares on Apple here as we will on Intel. Like, I'm confident in all of these moves. So this 20-cent move here for Apple, like we probably won't even get a 20-cent move on Intel. I mean, I hope we do. But let's see if we can get back in to the downside right now for Intel. You know, well talked about, well taken. Let's just see. Glad there's more in this one right now. Nvidia back up. We're still $7 in the money on that. Google still hovering around. And then, yeah, I guess Intel, Nvidia, we just talked about all of our positions. And then Palantir still doing absolutely nothing. There was a super chat, so I'm going to tell you guys, let's do a quick little rundown of most of the big names that are going to be reporting tonight. So we've got Lyft tonight. EPS expected 2 cents, so we're expecting profitability for these guys. Their last report, they did have an EPS profitability of 18 cents. So we're expecting a little lower than that right now. Move on this, 17% expected move on Lyft. So you got that one.
Really?
Yep. You've also got Upstart right now as well. Upstart coming in again with an expected move of 21% for UPST today. So that's going to be a big mover. We are not expecting profitability from Upstart, down 39 cents. So minus 39 cents for Upstart. Come on, Intel, let's get to the downside if we can. Last report, they moved 20%, expected 20%. We do have a name that I made a lot of money on because we had the IPO, and this name went under $300. Twilio expected move of only 10%. I think this name gets going for sure tonight. Age of AI, data name. Again, with Palantir reporting not great, we'll wait. By the way, Nvidia now, let's go. $7 in the money on that one. All right, we have Toast. We have Rivian tonight as well. That's another big name coming through. Thank you again for the super chat to go over this. Rivian expected to lose money. They lose about 50 grand a car. We'll see if they can do that any better than that right now. They may want to sell less vehicles, not more. Down expected move 18%. It moved 25% horribly last earnings call. And the last one, Occidental, blah, 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 3%. That's coming as well. And then Reddit. A big one that we're all expecting there. I'm expecting big things from Reddit. I think this one can really move. Right now, Reddit, we had it marked down as potentially a late earnings call, but they're expecting to not make money, losing 15 cents EPS expected move of 14%. So that's just a little bit of a rundown right there for me. The most interesting name is Reddit, and the most interesting trade on right now is Nvidia for me.
I would say Reddit, it's not normal to have an IPO already have as big a short interest as it does. It's pretty recent in the market to have double digits. It is 10%, the short float on Reddit, and it is breaking higher already. It's almost at the $50 level last I checked. I'm out of Qualcomm. It did not hold on to 81. I think when you got bad news, you want to hold on for the dream. It was consolidating underneath. You think you're going to fall down. It ends up bouncing off 79, not 78. And it's a strong-looking stock, but it doesn't quite get down to that 78 support level. So we'll get in and out. Still feel like this is probably not done, and we got to look at this story tomorrow. It's high up enough that if this can lose support tomorrow, it might just be a good secondary short in Qualcomm. They're going to have to get out of the notion of GameStop doing anything. It's trying to go. Don't think it's going to go at all. But we'll see. I'm going to give it like a couple more minutes, and then I'm just going to not have this level 2 up anymore. It's got to run the highs. I don't want to be shorted essentially 70, 80 cents away from the resistance spot, because then you're holding on to it way, way too long at that particular point. Kind of surprised that Qualcomm would give it up, and Intel's going to hold the bottom, but that's what's currently happening. I have a couple more offers here in front of 90. It hasn't really filled anything but 85s. I'm trying to get some 86s and 87s, and if we can get anything tighter to 90, that will be great. Chris J, Rivian downside. I actually think Rivian now has a lot of pressure to somehow say something about this Apple stuff. Like, if you look at the way that they responded to this rumor, well, if there's absolutely nothing there, maybe they've already priced in by selling it right back to where it was yesterday. But it's not a great look for Rivian going into earnings when it could have been holding the 50, maybe putting some pressure on some shorts. But until it gets to 11.5, I just think you're running the risk of what's happened to all of these other names, which is unfortunately, it's a short until it shows you higher lows, shows you that it's breaking higher. And I don't mind if I lose when something shows me a trend reversal. I'm going to use the example of Alibaba because Alibaba's actually back underneath 80. Remember last week? If Alibaba closes on the week above $80, I'm going to wait until it does a smiley face and close above that 200 period and then buy it. I bought it Monday morning. I didn't really look at the price, just bought it at the open, and we're going to have this one to the lows, or at least until this thing can finally make a bit of a turn and get back into those hundreds. Could be a triple-digit stock, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be late to a stock and not be buying it when it's still falling like an absolute rock. That's how I feel about any of those EV names.
All right, just having a conversation there with Adrian. You are welcome, my guy, right there. So yeah, let's just wait to see what happens here with Intel. I have bids at 76, 74, things like that. Again, I'm not expecting too much here. I mean, I would love for something to hit like ASAP. I just don't know if that is what's going to wind up happening here. So, I mean, hopefully to the downside. Yeah, Pfizer making new lows. I told you that Josh Brown dude came out. I like Josh Brown, but I mean, the guy just got a bump up probably just to sell it. Someone said that Pfizer was making new lows. Yeah, there it is right there. So, I mean, Josh Brown came out there hearing the possible catalyst.
Oh, no, that's not good.
A young boy potentially has passed away in their gene therapy trials. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the kid's situation, right, or his condition. So we'll hope for the best of that and hope for a false rumor. But that is obviously hitting the stock a little bit. So, if you did, it's not even that much, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, loss of a life is going to definitely halt, and whatever kind of trials these guys are on, not going to be continued. So we'll have to wait to see if that is true. But hey, we always say this: when there's smoke, there sometimes can be fire. And right now, it looks like that is the case there for Pfizer, starting to go lower. We have absolutely nailed news plays here. Like, I crushed TD, crushed Morgan Stanley, crushed Boeing, crushed MSOS the other day. I'm going to leave this one alone, but there it goes, Pfizer right now. I trade the news pretty well around here, but I'm going to wait on this Pfizer for right now again. So we'll wait. I'll probably trade this differently. I have significantly more shares on Intel right here. I don't know where Neil's going to wait for, but we're going to wait for a little bit lower. If I can start getting some out at 76 just to piece this out, we'll do that. So we're going to wait on this one. Not really loving the position, but again, lower bids will have that And yet there it is right now. Thank you so much. Oh, Adrian, you're with us here at Real Trading. Is that true? Right there. Shout out to Monty G for the respect on those plays. Sometimes it's hard to get a little respect, but we'll keep reminding people that we're here to trade everything, and it is what it is. We'll just trade away here and keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in. I found a level on Pfizer I like, so I'm gonna get into it. The difference between this distinctly and Qualcomm was Qualcomm, we got into it early. This one, taking it off of this consolidation at the 60 level, it's the 80 level that I like it to. That's right underneath here, so we'll give it to that, just grabbing some in the 60s, and then if I can find something underneath the 70. Now they just said there's a positive catalyst on the Pfizer news.
No, it's talking about Sarepta.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with Pfizer.
You know what, my Benzinga, my volume's not loud enough on that. Let's go to Adara for an update there.
So I have this update. I don't know about this new catalyst. If I'll have to take a look at that. But the catalyst with regards to the death, I was looking over this report from Stat News reporting here. There's not a lot of details. We're not really sure when the young boy died, but apparently the Pfizer told patient advocates this as of Tuesday, and this trial took place early last year. So not really sure of the details, saying that this was part of a strategy for Duchenne syndrome in boys aged 2 or 3. They're also saying they're not sure how the boy died, but they're going to be pausing crossing over patients in its phase 3 trial. So it's going to stop dosing patients who initially received the placebo. They're also expected to still announce data from this study in the coming weeks. So it doesn't seem like much of a setback. We'll have to wait and see the exact details of what happened here, because very late on actual details and data as to this death, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out. That doesn't sound like this. Sound like the same kind of thing. I was in a spot where I could have added to it. Like at that point, like I had an initial position. I'm like, do I want to put in as much on relative risk as Qualcomm? And it was right at that 80 level. I'm like, can I do it? Can I do it? Could have, but that doesn't sound. If it's that old, it doesn't sound like disastrous to me. Like the Qualcomm thing actually has some longer term repercussions. The back and forth is not going anywhere. And I think you're running into some trouble there. Meta got to VWAP, so I just got long. This took a while for this to set up. It's already 330, but Meta, there's the bounce off VWAP, and there's a higher low at 67.5. So we said if we held VWAP there, there'd be a good one. And Meta showing some signs of strength in here. So we're going to jump into this. We'll give it into the first level. Obviously, it's got a local high here, about $1 higher, and then see how far it can go from there on META. Above VWAP in green, when the market is barely even flat, going to put that in the positive-ish bucket. But even Meta, and we had a question in the middle of the day. It's like, what happened to the market? Simply all of the stocks doing all the heavy lifting, they just were slowly giving it up. And then we had that bond auction, and it just got turned into a bit of a cascade. But some things held better than others that were doing heavy lifting. Like Meta and Amazon were both very strong. The reason I prefer Meta long is look at Amazon. Amazon continues to hold lower.
All right. Yeah, just trying to do the same stuff we've always been doing. Nvidia's trying to fall back in. It's 333 right now. We talked about some of those earnings. We only have 10% of this position. I mean, I'd rather it not fall all the way back in, but looks like it may want to do that. Nvidia just $4 in the money on that one. I'm just waiting for something to do. Honestly, you're welcome about that TDOC news, by the way. Let me see what's going on with it. Right there, yeah, nice move up to 1280. Okay. When I looked at it, I don't know. It was kind of late to it. We would have had to punch in there, but it's a nice trade. Good move there on TDOC, like we said. So good job on that one. Yeah, Intel, huh? Like I said, we're waiting on that one. Rivian with the report coming tonight. We can have a look at Lyft. I mean, Uber, the last little while, has been doing well yesterday for sure. 3 or 4 straight days of upside. We had talked about that and maybe missing that bottom there for Uber, but I don't really think this is a name that I want to be in anymore. I'm not even in it anymore, but I was going to.
You covered Uber?
Yeah. Oh, a long time ago.
Well, yeah, because
even early I covered it.
500 thing.
Yeah, I covered it way early. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just thinking down into here. That's a decent buy spot there. I like Uber's business, but I was still really worried about the robo-taxis and all that kind of stuff. So I don't
like that at all.
I don't like that news at all. But coming in,
just a very quick thing.
Yeah, coming in.
I just took some intel out because it's bouncing off of this level. I was going to give it to the 3/4. If it's 85 to 90, 75 would have been the easy out, but it just showed a bounce here. It's like the first actual strength since it rolled back under, and I'm going to get some out. Next step would be that 75. Yeah, I really don't like what Uber's doing. We talked about this chart. It didn't quite get to the level I wanted to short today, but not a gigantic fan. I think it could see the 200 period again. I didn't sell everything when it got added to the S&P 500. So I've got a bit of a decision to make. And if I take it, if I get out of Uber, I feel like the place I want to put that money is very specifically into Tesla. Because if I'm not betting on these guys for automated driving, where else are you going to go? You going to go to Mobileye? It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
You could, yeah.
You could.
Tonight, Alpha Trends, Brian Shannon coming through on the show, the recap show with Adara and myself wants to talk a few crypto names. So watch out for that. We'll talk about some crypto tonight with my good friend Brian Shannon. Coming on as no rest for the wicked as we continue to talk like that. It's been a good move. You want to talk about anchored VWAPs, anything like that, Brian Shannon will be here. Look, again, thank you for all the love on these Apple longs. Again, just pushes back into the 200 period, moving average. This is the trading that we do, and this is what we like to do. So there it is, boom, 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 pow. At the end of the day, nice move there for Apple. We can't hold overnight. There's some questions in the chat. I would. I like Apple. I don't think there's nothing reporting tonight that matters really to the large scheme of the market. So I'm not afraid of any of those reports. Obviously, anything can happen to any stock at any time. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with all of this. 182.50 or so for Apple. Maybe if you want to get out if it drops back, that's right here. We're just a couple minutes until the imbalances. Really have done well holding on to Nvidia. Still 7 there on that one. But yeah, today, I mean, again, we got a lot of respect for telling you guys, oh, we're up, we're down on the day, things like that, what sort of our ratios look like. I mean, Apple, I have Disney, Google, Intel as possible up stocks. After that, nothing else, man. Down on Rivian. I mean, I wish Palantir would move, but down on Palantir. Down on Nvidia. We already talked about that. We made a lot back on that move. We were down a lot more on that. New position here for Intel. Again, we could just get out now and make small, but whatever. And then Google right here, that's going to be a top stock for me. Disney again up. Oh, you can't really see. Sorry, I should zoom back out. Up on Disney. We should still be long, but we're not. Down on Amazon, but again, this, I don't know. We should have been long at 187 there. And then Apple, we're in Apple right now. Let's go over to, Palantir is going to have to get going. I don't know if it's going to. Shout out to everybody there in the chat. Let's go over to Adara, see what she's up to.
Take a look at some of the bigger moves today on the S&P 500 that maybe we didn't discuss. And actually, not all of them are going to be earnings today. There's some other moves as well. We do have Fidelity National Information Services, though, kicking it off. FIS, this is an earnings-related move, reporting better than expected Q1 financial results, also announcing a $500 million increase to its 2024 share repurchase goal. So nice move for FIS. We also have IP. This one popped up right after the open. Reuters reporting around 9:30 here that Suzano, a Brazilian company, is making a $42 a share acquisition offer to IP. So nice look there for International Paper. Last but not least, Ford. This catalyst coming in around 2:30. The company was generally trading down later throughout the day. Financial Times reporting that Ford is prepared to restrict the UK sales of petrol cars in order to hit its EV target. So F looking for some EV sales heading to the downside, guys.
Not going to give it to you, apparently. Come on, Ford. Do something. We just took some profit out on Meta. And, like I already said, today, I had no idea that AMD was going to be something for me, but it's going to be the best one. And then Qualcomm on news, and then Meta late because of VWAP and showing strength off of VWAP. But if it cannot break this consolidation higher in the next few minutes, then it could be in some trouble. It was Mr. Longshorts in the chat just asking about VST on the imbalance locator. There are some individual names with big numbers. This VST is going from the S&P mid cap to the SPX. So this is like an index sort of thing. This is not gospel. It doesn't mean it's going to come out 12 million to buy. Doesn't mean it's going to rally. Doesn't mean it's going to do anything. But there is an expected action. This is not going from nothing to being added to the index like one day Palantir will be. This is very different. It's going from one to the other. my experience is those are not as appealing in terms of actually getting really big volatility at the close. So just be careful with that. It's probably going to have a big number, but nothing that piques my interest.
Yeah, I think that's a good call right there. Nvidia still going, still $7. We're still waiting for it, man. Honestly, I don't know what to do other than wait for that play to do something. That's Nvidia starting to go long again. Palantir, absolutely going lower. I don't have, we haven't averaged into it. It's not really a big deal, but I'm assuming there's going to be a sell imbalance on this as we start to go lower. We've already gotten it. We're just trying to hold this. I mean, we could maybe average back in. That very bottom is 34. I was going to wait to see if we do test the very bottom of the day. So this right there is 40. Let's just try to go. Let's try to get something like at 40, 41, and just to add to this position. But it's, again, we could double the position. It's not a big one. Let's try it against that very bottom in case it does come out a bid, but I don't think it's going to right now for Palantir. We can have an early look to see if Palantir is even on here.
I didn't see it.
Right now. Well, if it is, it's not going to be anything significant. So we'll wait for that. Palantir today, 150 million shares. Basically, none of these things are significant yet. I mean, XOM maybe, but again, with Oxy earnings, I mean, this is at least 15% of the day's volume. So not bad. All right, so we'll wait for Palantir. Just keeps on pushing lower, lower, lower right now against us, which is fine. We had sniffed that out and it was able to get out of that a little bit earlier.
What I don't want to forget about
here comes Intel.
Is with Palantir was, for me, obviously frustrating. It's a crap stock, no question about it. It'll end up being my worst stock today, although at least the good news about that is I came into this morning thinking it was going to be something. So we end up losing on it. But tomorrow's going to be SSR as well. And if something sets up that's reasonable, that makes sense, I'll probably take some trades in it. Just have to stay disciplined. Oh, I just got trailed out of Meta. It just tried to take out this little top in here through 468.75, got into the 79s. Okay, it's almost 350. We'll tighten up the stop because we're getting close to the end of the day. The second I have the trail in there, we cross it back out. We end up getting 80 cents on it. By that point, my stop goes to break even after it's held the higher low. So now we're only into Intel. We're mentioning Reddit was almost at 50, but I guess it is at 50 now. Going into those, a 10% short float going into these earnings.
I've already called Reddit is going to be hopefully a great one. We talked about getting longer on this a couple days ago, that we really liked it. So there it goes, man. 44, 45 bucks up to 50, trying to get going here as they report their very first earnings report happening tonight for Reddit. So pay attention to that one as it's coming through. Again, good hold for us on Nvidia. Shout out to Adrian and everybody else who wound up taking this one with us. Good trade there, adding to it. So again, we'll have 3 or 4 positive names on board with 4 or 5 negative names. Bad day today for me for sure as we continue to talk about that. But yeah, Intel, nice move down. We just got another 74 maybe there, or was that a 75 it looks like? Yeah, next bid lower, 60s. Let's see if it falls down. We said we put on decent amount of shares here, so that's what we did. Let's see if it comes back into it. So that's what we're talking about, trying to find trades that we like. We had that Qualcomm news right there. We put this on. Now we'll see about Intel making moves lower and hopefully a lot lower here into the close. Yeah.
For that, Qualcomm is slowly heading back to the downside. It made the initial push to the downside first and then came right back up. I was holding on to the shares that we had on the way back up, so we shorted a breakdown. Really early when the news came out, I shorted that short for a scalp trade and then got this reload, but that stopped out 81s. The fact that you're making lower highs here, I think, can give more credence to pulling some of these chip names. Specifically, I mean, Intel's the one that stands out because they were already, there's already been some back and forth regards to them in China, them and Qualcomm. So at the end of the day, earnings are going to be big ones. We've mentioned Reddit in there. I don't know if we said anything about Upstart and its 35% short float, but that's another one that we're going to get after the bell. So it's more runners today than anything else. And speaking of which, you can stick a fork in that GameStop short at 17.5 because it never got there and it's already back at VWAP. This was SSR today, by the way, on GameStop because it was actually down 10%. Despite the ridiculous move to the upside that it had in the morning yesterday. The stock was actually at one point down 10%. So it was SSR. And that's, I think, probably what contributed to that bounce. It's deceiving because I know that doesn't look like a stock that would have traded 10% down, but it almost certainly did make that move after a huge run to the upside. Should not be SSR tomorrow, so might not have the same wind under its sails.
All right, a couple fills here on Intel for a dime. We'll see if it gets a little lower than that one. Boring afternoon a little bit here. I mean, I was hoping that Nvidia would do something. I mean, a $7 winner, but still. And then Palantir, we're just waiting. It's 345. Yeah, again, tonight, Brian Shannon on the Market Recap Show. That should be fun. Me and Adara will take that in for you. Just a quick look at some of the names. We've done this already here today. I like this stock heat map that we have for you. So, I mean, Tesla, you know, definitely the missed opportunity for me. We had a 183 short that we should have hit that we did not hit. So that was a missed opportunity right there. Uber down 1.5. There's Nvidia right there down 1.84. Any other real big names? Disney down 9 only now, so that's a little bit battled back. We had sold our McDonald's shares a hell of a long time ago. Nice to see Eli Lilly back upside a little bit, 777. We had recently bought at 730 or something. That was down there yesterday. Eli Lilly, nice little backside move there. And then after that, I mean, I don't know, pretty happy with Amazon only being down 0.29. We'll check out those guys tomorrow. Again, there's Morgan Stanley at the bottom, nicely up 1%. Berkshire, JP Morgan also down. Today, Netflix 1.24 despite Disney, so
Visa
that's
had
nice.
a really good day.
Right there, yeah, Visa with a good day. I don't see them on here, but they're on here somewhere. And it's Apple holding forward, actually up 0.5%. So I think that's pretty good. Like whenever we have relative strength in Apple versus the market, I like that. So good day there for Apple shareholders for sure, as they are relatively strong v. the market. So we really like to see that one. And then, yeah, just more covering happening on Intel. Again, good trade right there. As I said, we put on some more shares, take a little bit more profit there on Intel just because, almost because we're bored. I mean, we were willing to get out if it broke up here. We should have averaged in and took more shares. Then this would be a really good one. But still, nice little day for us on Intel at the end of it all, with only now 13 minutes to go.
Yeah, only 13 minutes to go. So we had a really good out on Meta. It just can't go any further. Ultimately, the market, just not enough juice in it. It's a strong one. I still like. Look, I like everything about it. I love the fact that it held VWAP and didn't break down like everything else. But we trail out of it. I'm not going to reload VWAP at 347. Just not going to happen. The great news for Meta is this rebound. But you've essentially today filled in the bottom of that gap on the daily chart. We always say when in doubt, zoom out. But if you look at that bottom end, it came all the way in, and within the last $10 here, filling in that gap and then pulling back is Meta. So does it have one more leg in it? I think we're going to find out probably a little bit later on in this week. I still think it's a relatively strong stock and just a little bit more to go on Meta. So the last thing we'll be in is going to be Intel. Barry, do you think Mara will run tomorrow because of the listing? Well, if it's not on the imbalance locator, like it's supposed to be an add today into the index, right? It was the S&P 600, I believe I said. So if you don't see it on the imbalance locator at 350, then there's pretty much no trade there. Sometimes things can run after they're added to an index, but a lot of the times you're looking for that move. And it's a NASDAQ stock, Mara, so you're not going to see anything until 350. Like we'll see if it's there or not in about a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Minute and a half until we go. Nvidia still, I mean, I'm just talking the same stuff because honestly, it's all that I have. Like I'm waiting for, I don't want to get into anything else. There's too much time, too little time, too much time before the close. Like we don't have enough time. So we'll wait to see what happens here. CCL, TSX, Celsius. Oh yeah, that's another name that reports tonight. CELH. A name that's been pretty violent. I mean, some good trades definitely on Celsius. I feel like it's pulled back. Yeah, there it is. So up to $100, back into 70 again. Beverage maker. We'll see what happens with Celsius coming through. Cover more Intel at 70s. So that was really good down there again on that one. Apple, good cover there. We talked about holding it with only 50 seconds left. Yeah, we were actually talking about this earlier, about buying calls or puts or just options trading when the day is now. And you pay so much in premium based on that implied move. So I feel like we talked about this with Danielle Shea, which is why you have to stay late with us. We talked about traders stay late, so you got to do that with us. And we talked about buying calls or whatever way into the report. So that, like, if you like Rivian, you should have maybe thought about buying some calls down into this area, 9.9. Not just because of where it looks. We'll talk about that in a minute as we're getting ready to get released here on the imbalance. So we'll get ready, activate source, and here we go. Let's hope that for some strange reason, Nvidia is a huge buy. Apple with a huge buy right there to the upside. So, okay, bank error, not necessarily in my favor. We've had a lot of errors against us right now, but there it goes. Nice move for Apple. Again, nice move for Nvidia again. Nvidia trying to go upside right now. Can we get a $10 winner to end the day there on Nvidia? That would be nice to do that. So nice little upside push here for NVDA. And then there we go again, coming back in. Thank you so much, Adrian, for the talk there. Hey, you ever want to talk Intel or anything like that? You know, any name, you let us know. We're here with you guys in the chat. So far so good here for us. Nice move upside for Apple, but not so much for Intel.
Yeah, that VST we knew would be gigantic. It's like 10 million, but as I said, it's going from one DIX to another. Mara is 3 million to the buy
Google,
side.
baby.
That's a little bit less than I think was anticipated. I did get in long. I tried to get 20s and then got 2009s. Pfizer's got a buy imbalance. Apple's the other one that was semi-big. But Mara, that's the one, 3 million on Mara. Why is that still on CROX? I just got in when it broke out here, so I'm going to try scalping it. At 355, probably pairs off. It's a NASDAQ stock. NASDAQ New York doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, if there's going to be a trade for like the closing print, then you want that right up until like 359 or something like that. But for now, it's a buy and balance on Mara. The expected, just double checking over here, because it was a pretty decent sized number. The expected for Mara was 31 million shares to trade, so it's actually come out smaller. So that would lead me to scalp it into that high. That's actually smaller, that 3.6 million, than what was expected.
All right. We're waiting at 907.50 for Nvidia. All right, so we'll wait for that one to come through. Again, we're not doing too much, man. Apple, oh, I want to bring this to everyone's attention. Hold on a second. This. So there it was right there. The reloaded in Google at 107.50, for example. There's the out at 171.32 on that imbalance. So, I mean, we've made back. So we've lost a lot today, but just in the afternoon, we made back more, like in our make back, we've made back more than the highest net in this place. So we lost too much early, but we made back, like we had an afternoon to remember. So, you know, me and Brendan, although, like I said, no rest for the wicked, we spent pretty much all afternoon trying to figure out and trying to get the best podcast produced for you coming up, which we are going to do that. And, you know, he was asking me about battling back and everything all the time. And I was just like, look, when you have it, honestly. And it's like we wouldn't be here for this long putting up the numbers that we have. It's too bad because I've asked, first of all, here we go, man. It's going to be $10 right now on Nvidia. So that's good. But we had quite the day back in this afternoon. So, again, just stay in the grind. Stay doing what you're doing. Still believe in what you're doing. You know, if you like a trade, put shares on those trades. You know, make the trades work for you. This is going to be, if you're trying to make an income here, that's what you have to do. You're going to get lumped up some days, and that is what it is. But at the end of the day, there's only a couple traders that make a living, and you got to try to be one of those. Right? To sit here, just go back and forth every day, make or lose $20 or $30. It's fun to do, but unless you got incomes from a side hustle, it's not going to be trading that pays the bills. So make sure that you understand, look at your numbers, make sure that you're still in your pocket. Don't have huge days where you get blown out, and the next thing you know, you can't make that back. get into a spot where you know you can make that money back if something goes awry. We're just gonna punch out there. There it is, man. Take it out on Nvidia. Boom goes the dynamite. Have confidence in who you are and your own abilities. And like I said, the damage we put back in the afternoon was well, but I already told you that we got smoked on Nvidia. So if you're looking for honest trading, and I think you found it, there's the out on Nvidia with only 5 minutes left.
Yeah, with only 5 minutes to go, I mean, like I said, it'll be a rough one for me. I got about a third back. Just try to stay in the pocket and show you guys some trades that make some sense. Mara, we anticipated you're going to get this break. If it came out of buy and balance, it did. Was not in the trade going into it. Was long when it came out of buy and balance, but it's a scalp trade for me. It was a fraction of what was anticipated. It was supposed to be 30 million. It's only 3.6. So if anybody is holding into the closing print and wants the auction, good for you. I'm not doing it. I'm going to punch out of Intel. Oh, shit. And just look, at the end of the day, it's right at the end. It's right at the low. I don't think you can ask much more than that. But I'm going to say this about Qualcomm and Intel. Okay, it's probably more directed. I mean, Qualcomm is a very different looking chart, but I still kind of believe this. Intel is consolidating off the bottom. This is not good news for them with this next move from China and the back and forth that's going on. I think it's just another thing that's going to hold them back in the short term. Qualcomm, I do not want to get away from what could be a pretty significant piece of news, this Huawei story for them. Huawei's a big deal, and Huawei's had a ton of growth in China. Now, obviously, if I hang on to that short, it looks a heck of a lot better, but it stopped out. It is what it is. But where this stock is at the highs, if it gives up 177, 178 tomorrow, the 50 period's at $170 on Qualcomm. It has been riding the gravy train, and you just got a pretty negative story when it had just made a big press and a rejection off the high in the first place. So they're very, look, it's the same story in terms of affecting them. The charts couldn't be any different. One's consolidating off the lows. The other one is possibly breaking down off highs. Now, I tend to think you can look at both of them. I'm looking at both of those as shorts tomorrow, even though they're complete opposites in the grand spectrum of things, which is fine. You know, momentum's momentum. And if there's going to be this back and forth pit patter or whatever with China, just go with what works.
I like
and at
that.
the end of the day, you know, Qualcomm worked, Intel worked, Meta was pretty good. It showed some kinds of strength. You had the big chips try to come back. I mean, if Nvidia is going to pop 10 and Intel's going to finish at the lows and Qualcomm's going to go lower, and AMD couldn't even go anywhere off of those lows. Remember AMD?
Oh, yeah.
Like AMD couldn't get to VWAP in here, and that's still. I mean, I wanted to short VWAP, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't get there. This is under trouble. AMD, probably not as bad as Intel, but the trend is very much still intact with a lot of these chip names, and I'm scared that Qualcomm's about to do a little bit of it as well. So with about 2 minutes to go, not going to be any new positions. Mara,
are you wearing velour pants?
Now, okay, it's paired off half of it, so it's check that.
Velour on
just
all day?
half. Now it's like a third. It was down at 1.1 million. Keeping in mind here, the paired volume is 27
Hating on you. All right,
million
if you want to go
shares.
get a drink.
27 million. So that expected 30 million.
Nothing.
It's essentially the whole thing
Trade ideas.
that is still out
Assume,
there
really.
and now paired
Nothing.
on Mara. So that's why we get out of it. You're going to see it pull right back in there. That's a trade that if you see the imbalance come out and you're in early, you can try to take it. Had it come out like 30 million to buy, maybe you get some kind of a big push. I don't really know at the end of the day like how this will react tomorrow and then after that fact. It'd be great if it can show some continuation now that it's in an index, but stock that's been under a little bit of pressure lately, I think you got to watch out and be very, very careful with that Mara. Maybe it's a one-off event. A lot of times you'll get some sell the news when you get added to an index. In this particular case, it had already run up like 3 days in a row going into that. So it might be done here on Mara. It's worth a watch tomorrow, but that's more of a gimmicky trade at all. So big earnings after the bell. Like there's a lot of earnings on moving stocks. Reddit has a 10% short interest, as Sean already mentioned. It got to $50 today. Upstart's got decent short interest, 35%. Lyft is reporting after the bell. The expected move on Lyft was double digits, actually close to 20%. Lyft was 17 or 18% expected move. So you don't necessarily have big cap, massive names reporting, but you've got some names that we should be interested in as traders for follow through. Whether you won or lost on Palantir, Palantir did a boatload of shares with a huge trend volume, and you wanted to pay attention to that. I'm guessing there was just a big flip on the imbalances because I heard a couple of things, some people reacting in the back. Was not on Mara because Mara is still $1 million to buy, it looks like. So Mara is still $1 million to buy, but that's paired off almost a bunch. With only 10 seconds to go, let's get the camera on Adara and drop the countdown on this Tuesday. Let's get this party started because the squeeze names report, and we've seen GameStop move. Why not Upstart? Why not Lyft? In 2 and 1, ring it, Adara. And there we are. Market is going to be closed. Going to have eyeballs on some big earnings plays in terms of movement. Upstart did a move already, but I don't think any numbers are out. It actually had a pretty decent print there back upside. That's just a bit of a dark pool. Some idiot just got punked by 40 cents on Upstart. So nothing yet on Upstart, just quickly double checking Lyft. Lyft hasn't really done anything yet. If you're looking at that Mara close and you felt like you wanted to gamble going into the close and holding the print, it essentially printed right back in at VWAP. That's what you expect. Like you expect it to go up on an imbalance, pair it off, and then just sort of print in the middle. I think the trade is getting it on momentum as opposed to just sort of gambling into that close. That used to be a heck of a lot better way back in the day. Big shout out to Fabian and Ramin on the ones and twos. Ramin doing a lot of work at the desk while Fabian was helping the boys with some changes that are coming through on the podcast, which you should all be looking forward to. Shout out to Sharif and Adara, as always, on the midday. And shout out to Obi filling in for Sharif, who was back today. All about getting that education on. Today was an educating day. The market never hesitates to help you learn. Today was one of those. Kind of wish we didn't have to have that 11 o'clock till 1, because the close was a little bit better than that middle of the session was. No questions about it today. But let's get on to it. You got some earnings plays, Upstart, Lyft, and a few other ones like a Reddit. But let's get on to it at the desk. You've got Adara, you've got Sean, special guest Brian Shannon, and earnings plays. Market recap starts now.
All right, let's go, man. Yeah, good to have that day done with. So thank you so much for joining us here. It is the Market Recap Show.
It is.
The best show
it
at
is.
Trader TV Live. So there it is. We're ready to rock and roll. Thank you so much. As real traders stay late, and we're here with you every single day. And you're going to get a really awesome trader coming through very, very soon with Brian Shannon, as you know for sure as well. Look, thank you so much. There are some earnings coming through right now. You can't see yet. As you can see on the board, we will get this all in very, very soon. I'm going to reload my news feed here with Ben Zinga. But what do we have popping off right now early? We're waiting for Upstart right now to come through. Upstart halted. We've seen this. Okay, good call, Neil. We've seen this before on Upstart halting. You remember when Upstart, you weren't here, Adara. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I believe Upstart halted like almost immediately, and then they released it like at 5 o'clock.
Oh, you told me
or
about
5:30 or something. So
and they punked everybody.
yeah,
They did well.
so let's wait for. I don't know if they did well or not, but we'll have to remember that one. Right now, Upstart is apparently, not apparently, it is halted. Let me just double check that UPST on our system right now. There it is, into halt stage. So yes, right now we do have WIN, which is out right now as well. Let's go over, open up the Trade Ideas platform and look at WIN, WINN. We'll get those reports in just a second. Nice move upside there for WIN.
I have WIN's numbers.
Sure, what are they?
So they did have adjusted EBITDA USD. That's a beat. We also had a beat here on revenue, 1.86 bill versus 1.79 bill expected. Beat on EPS as well, 1.5 versus 1.59 versus 1.27 expected. So beat across the board here. Nice look for WYNN.
Okay, good look for WIN there on a nice move. If we're going to look at a sort of a daily chart for WIN, you're just up to here $100. It's not like this is a huge move at all. Expected move, I think 5% or so on WIN. So we'll wait to see where that goes. But right now, just pretty quiet on the earnings front. So let's take advantage of, I actually wanted to call up the Trading View heat map, which I don't have right now, so I will get that in just a minute. There it is right there, the Trading View heat map. Marquetta is now out right now. We actually looked at the heat map today. I mean, really, Google was impressive, being up there 1.87%. Other than that, Nvidia a little negative to the downside, 905 today. I really think that that's going to be a stock to watch out for, obviously, moving forward. We definitely want to buy some Nvidia. Today, though, I mean, if we're just going to look at some sectors, the Qs today just turning green right there at the end of the day. We'll flip it over just to have a quick look at maybe a 5-minute chart or something like that for the Qs. Really slow into the close. Today's day was really led by Apple. We had that Let Me See event, or what was it called? Let Loose.
Let loose.
Let Loose, Footloose.
Let
Have
me
you seen
see.
Footloose?
Yeah.
Of course you have.
Let loose, Footloose. Take off your Sunday shoes.
Good, perfect.
Yeah.
Nice little move down there for Apple. Good singing. They're down to 181. All is well. New iPad there, new chips. Apparently some funky pen as well. Been called through on that one.
Lyft reported.
Lyft is now out, so let's just quickly have a quick look at Lyft. Let me drop this down into a 1-minute chart just to see. And wow, if that's not a middle finger to the shorts, I don't know what is.
Oh,
right
this
now,
is a nice
Lyft right now, 4.37 days to cover, 15% short. Lyft upside, Adara, what does it look like?
So there's a lot. They have a lot of different types of numbers just by the nature of the business, but I'm seeing above expectations for pretty much everything here. EBITDA higher than expected. Q1 gross bookings 3.7 bill versus 3.6 bill expected. Q1 active riders 21.9 million versus 21.8 million expected. That is also a beat. Their outlook here coming in above expectations. So they're seeing 4 bill to 4.1 bill in gross bookings for Q2. Market estimate was 3.96. That is indeed higher than expected outlook. So all of these numbers, we're getting a lot in, but they're all seeming outstandingly positive for Lyft right now.
Yeah, it looks like it's a nice little boost to them. Let's just check out to see if there's
Lyft.
anything on. Yeah, they are getting that. So is Uber right now. So there you go, man. From one to another, it's Uber starting to go back upside as well, up to 72 and change on good numbers again from Lyft. I guess it's not happening. Like I have the Benzinga Pro platform. I don't even see Lyft.
We got Upstart.
We got Upstart for, Upstart. Okay, is it still halted though? Let me see what these numbers are. Are you getting that on your Benzinga? No, you're getting it somewhere else. Okay, good. All right, so we'll have to wait to see here what is happening with Upstart. Still halted right now, but you said the numbers came out?
Yeah, I'm seeing them. So I'm not seeing compared to estimates here. Okay, we did get pre-tax profit here. So they lost $64 million versus the estimate of losing $67 million. So that is a beat. That's a smaller loss
Right,
than expected.
smaller beat, yeah.
Yeah, smaller loss than expected here. Adjust Q1 EPS, that's the same number. Q1 operating expenses, I'm not seeing revenue, 138 million. So let's compare that to what our expected was, because I do have that here, 138 million for UPSD, and we were expecting 124 million. That's a beat. That is a beat, Upstart.
Okay.
That is a beat. From what I'm seeing anyway, there's always a little bit of different estimates, but I was seeing estimate there of 124. I saw 134 for what they reported. That's a beat.
What we were expecting from Twilio was a 10% move. Right now, Twilio down 3%, trying to go a little bit lower right now. EPS expectations of 59 cents with revenue of 1.03 billion right now. It is starting to make that move right now. And apparently Rivian is moving. So shout out to everybody there in the chat, and thank you so much for all of that. There's Rivian, Rivian. Yeah, there's Lyft. So Lyft again, 8 cents misses 3, minus 8 cents misses it, but sales up on Rivian. Sales up on Lyft. Rivian 1070, nice move back to the upside. Rivian has a heck of a lot of work to do, man. Neil and I were looking at this up at around 1130, 1150 earlier today. Rivian falling back in, but people are saying the numbers are out. We were looking at 410. Do we have anything? I mean, we know that Rivian has demand, but the problem with Rivian is they were unable to produce the vehicles to meet the demand. So then you got cancellations on top of that, and you got trust issues. I've always said that Reddit has a huge opportunity. 14%. Reddit now up 19%. If you guys saw me, it's actually on today's sticky note where we said, hey guys, check out Reddit for a possible huge beat. And there goes Reddit. Nicely done to the upside right now. Yeah, what did Reddit looking like? Nice numbers for Reddit right there. bang for Willis Addison there in the chat.
Oh yeah, Reddit's doing great here. We did have a 37% increase in daily active users for the quarter. They also had a smaller quarterly net loss year over year, so $575 million lost in the quarter versus 60. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to read numbers. So they had a net loss here. Oh, sorry, they lost more contact lenses. They lost more than they did last year. So this is an interesting look there. They also have announced an added member to the board here. Adjusted EBITDA in the range of 0 to 15 million. So these numbers are, I'm gonna have to see how these numbers are doing, but that's what I'm seeing. They did beat revenue estimates though there for RDDT. We also got, I'm gonna keep seeing, I haven't seen the Rivian numbers yet. Let's see if I'm still not seeing Rivian. I know we did get Twilio though as well out here, which I know we were looking at. Twilio, 80 cent EPS versus an estimate of 60 cents. So that is a beat. What else did we get here? Q2 revenue outlook here, 1.05 billion to 1.06 billion. So a couple numbers there coming out for TWLO. But we're gonna have to wait and see what we're doing on Rivian there.
All right. So this is going to be just another good call, I feel like, for Reddit. I mean, now 58.50, still going long on Reddit for sure. We had said, oh yeah, that's right. We're going to have not too much information there. But similar to ARM, where you made a move down, you took out its level there off open, which was its market on open order. They're $47 for its IPO day. Had a high that day of $57. And now right here today, that's where we are right now, 58. Trying to get back up to the upside, blasting northbound right now goes Reddit as well. Check in on Rivian.
You got Rivian numbers.
Is that why you're just excited? All right.
That's why I just gasped.
Yeah, so Rivian right there coming back in. I guess that was a fat finger. This is why, man, we talk about wait to see if we do get confirmation anywhere, right? So win is out. There's Reddit. Gap EPS. Wow, minus what? Minus $8.19 versus minus $6.97 with a higher sales number for Reddit. So if you're investing in such a growth name, here we go. Rivian, a loss of $1.48 versus $1.25. You have something more clarity on the Rivian number?
Yeah, so their Q1 earnings per share lost 148 here compared to these estimates of that. I'm seeing a couple different estimates here. 117 loss, 125 loss. Either way, though, that 148 completely out of the water.
Oh, no.
Dropping to the downside. How is the chart going on Rivian? Oh, my gosh.
It's going to the downside with Rivian right now. It's going to the downside with Rivian. Yeah, no, I mean, look.
Yeah.
You know, when we heard that Apple car news there, give me a break. All right, all the way to the downside right now, 992. I mean, it's the same thing when we have Lucid. We have some different talks in there. I don't have much here, but when it's spiking up. All right, 990. It looks like we're starting to go to the downside there with Reddit. So, yeah, again, with Rivian. We had that information out to you. But Reddit with a nice move. I mean, I'm liking Reddit right now on the daily. A good pullback to the upside. We'll see where we can last. $60, a nice even level. TOST came with a nice report again. Get your toast. Aren't they the, when you go into restaurants, it's the order taking. It's getting all that figured out
like
for
open
inventories. Inventories for reservations. This is more for like, hey, Adara, what would you like to eat? And then the server marks it all down, and then it goes back into the kitchen. Provides nice and easy. It's all wrapped up in, I could be wrong and I'm just explaining nothing right now. All wrapped into one. That could be toast or something else, but I believe that's toast right now. An all-in-one for, and again, people that have worked, and maybe I'm confusing it, but people that have worked in the industry, their culinary, they like toast. So a nice move there as well. Down goes Fraser, says Sam
You're right.
as well.
That is what toast does. Yeah, I just looked it up.
All right. Twilio downside there as well. And then, yeah, Rivian's loss widened. Now, the problem with Rivian, when you have a bigger loss than expected, it starts to hit, obviously, an issue of needing to raise capital because you can't just keep on dipping into the cash that you've just raised, hoping at some point to make money on some of these cars. We'll have more details for you as it comes out in the earnings call. But right now, Rivian downside. The good thing about Lyft is it's also helping out Uber to the upside as well. And we do have Brian Shannon coming on. He wants to talk a little bit about Ethereum and some plays that he has in biotech and a play in crypto. So we'll talk all about that with Brian Shannon coming up very, very soon. It looks like Reddit's still trying to go up, man. $59, a huge move there for Reddit. But before we get Brian on here, let's just look at some names here and talk a little bit about a quick little market recap, because we didn't really get a chance to do that. So let's just have a quick look here on some of these names. So comments today by Fed Kashkari, you know, back and forth a little bit. We saw that in the market, the NASDAQ trying to hold positive and actually does that. We did have some earnings debacles today with both Palantir to the downside and Disney. Thank you, Adara. I was like, wait a minute, there was another name. So we could have a quick look at that. Just Disney heading to the downside today. A pretty yucky report for them. Honestly, filling the gap. We don't want to see that, but they say all gaps get filled. Maybe I can ask Brian about that one, but a nice downside move there for Disney. Maybe we'll look for some support levels on that. And then Palantir, again, $21.30, pulling back into $20. We'll see if Palantir can hold the day on that. And then unfortunately, we had Apple trying to kick it, but Apple actually winds up, which is nice. Good to see Apple making that move. Materials sector upside, a nice bounce off for them. We had some weakness lately in XLE and USO. We've seen XLE double top, triple top, almost getting to $98 again. One top, two top, basically three. It looks a lot better on a weekly chart, so let me look at that, as some pressure still exists right now. There it is on the weekly. So 1, 2, 3, taking it out and now pulling right back into support. This actually isn't looking horrible. Again, material sector outperformed its peers by good earnings report from FMC and International Paper with an offer, Adara. So that was really good. Oh, the other name I want to talk about, again, was weakness in Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Down 4%. The craziest part about Tesla was if you go over to a 3-minute chart right here, I'm going to throw up because this was the mistrade of the day. We wind up having a pretty bad day today, P&L wise, but that was because of Palantir. We talked about that. We lost what we made yesterday on Palantir, lost our day on Palantir alone. But then right there, look at this. Tesla 183 short sell. Bad numbers out of China. We talked about that, trying to hold the 180. And if it doesn't, we want to go short. Look at that, right off the open, 183.23. That was the high of the day on Tesla. Never saw anything, and closing on the lows. I think we have to stay relatively negative on Tesla. We're working with Brian, trying to get him up, and when we do, we will throw over to Brian. I got to end the show pretty much at 4:30.
Okay.
I got to go to Hyde Park, pick up the bag, then go to practice facility. Should be a fun one. So hopefully we'll get Brian on pretty soon to go. Any more movements happening here, or else we can still talk all about some of these general market movers here today, with China actually being down 1.5%.
Yeah, China was rough. Billy, I come this morning, Billy down almost 6%.
Yeah.
I don't see any news on Billy. I know, I'm going to have to stop saying Billy every 2 seconds, but I know BILI actually getting its short position increased by one of those major banks on Monday, but that doesn't really explain why we had that move down today. So a lot of weakness in China there for sure. Despite actually strong China EV sales for everything that's not Tesla, basically, based on what I saw. Reddit, though, I'm seeing some more comments here coming from Reddit saying they're machine learning. They're looking to use machine translation to drive growth in the near term. So just some comments coming out of RDDT. That's mainly what I'm seeing. Let's see if there's any things that people.
We actually got Occidental. So Occidental just came out. So we'll check out for Oxy. Oxy right now, a nice move back up to the upside. Earnings today obviously starts Oxy move higher again. As we talked about some oil pulling back a little bit, Oxy continues to work out. It looks like their number 63 cents versus 60. So that's a nice beat. I don't have anything other than their EPS. So it looks like they'll beat 63 versus 60 on Occidental, trying to get going on that one right now. So traders, stay late. I want to thank everybody for doing that. Let me just flip over to a daily chart for Occidental again. Nice pushback off of 70. I didn't hear anything for Berkshire on Occidental. It's a big holding for them. So we didn't hear anything coming back in, but Occidental right now pushing back to 65. A nice downside push there. Look at the marijuana stocks as they go today, Adara, back up in smoke as we wait for more decisions from the DEA and whether or not this gets approved back into a Schedule 3 versus 1 or I think we want to go that way. Or do we want to go 1 to 3? I'm not sure.
I
But
think 1 to 3.
1 to 3. I think it would be 3 would be better. Like schedule 1 seems worse.
Yeah, because it's like usually like murder 1, murder 2, murder 3. If you're gonna use that comparison.
Oh, that's right. You're a Law and Order girl. I forgot about that.
I love Law and Order.
Yeah. So again, what goes up must come down. And I mean, honestly, this MSOS, I don't know if this even existed. This was obviously a relatively new ETF, but there you go. If we're going to go all the way back, $20 in the heyday up to 53, and just look at the, again, complete destruction of wealth for anybody holding on to some of these marijuana and cannabis names as you come into $9 bottom there. Let's wait to see what happens. I feel like this is a topic of discussion. I mean, names like CGC, I don't even want to look at a weekly chart for this one. Look at this, just horrendous to the downside. Even a stock like Tilray might be poking its head up. Adara, Tilray was $300 when it squeezed.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Tilray's price now is $2.
That's yucky.
That's like rolling up some stinky weed and trying to smoke that. That's not a good, not that we've ever done that, but that's a big, big fail right there. But again, that's a kind of a bad example. Tilray was one of those squeeze names where they came out with a huge short float and there was some share structure issues with Tilray in the beginning. So I am sort of data mining on that. I knew that was going to look ridiculous. But Tilray's had a pretty decent bottom down here at 170, so we'll see that. But they are the worst performing sector today. There's K-Web for China. Again, the Jets ETF, airlines having a little bit of a problem today, down 1.81%. But look at Nvidia. Brian and I have talked about this. We both think that there's maybe a $1,000 mark coming on this, but look where earnings are, May 22nd, Adara. So we're about 2 weeks away. Still lots of love coming through for Nvidia by the dips. From top to bottom, 22% move. So it did get into correction territory, but you had to be pretty swift to buy that bottom down there at 750 as it bounces right back in 2 days up to 837. So thank you so much, Sebastian, right there. Amazing comment. I have no idea what I said, but thank you to Sam. They're really loving the show here on the chat as we'll wait for Mr. Brian Shannon to come through whenever he's ready. We did have a little bit of an issue there. Wait a second. Did Dutch Bros report?
Oh.
Bro, how did we forget Dutch Bros, bro? Nice little move down there. Yo, what's up, bro? Down to the downside. Come on. Where's my 1 minute chart here for Dutch Bros? Let's go have a quick look. They must have reported. There it is, post-market May 7th. We like our caffeine around here. I've never had a Dutch Bros.
Me neither.
It's generally West. Of course, Ramin's had them. What has it? I mentioned Wingstop. She's like, oh, yeah, we're ordering Wingstop, baby. Chipotle, let's get some Chipotle. Dutch Bros, where were you when you had that? LA or something? It's San Fran.
There you go. Yeah, Ramin knows all the places. She's like aware.
I think it's Oregon-based. I'll have to look up.
That sounds correct. I don't know if that is correct, but I think that's correct. I'm going to check that.
I'm trying to find out right here where it is located right now. Dutch Bros engages in operating franchising drive-through shops. So yeah, we knew that. Right, it doesn't actually say where they are founded, but Oregon may be the right spot there. Great Pinot in Oregon. So right there, nice move to the upside there. Yeah, Bros, nice little content. Do you have the number there for Bros?
Yeah, I do actually have the number.
Are we ready for Brian?
So we did get.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we had, I'm not seeing, yes, Q1 revenue, 275 million versus 255.9 million expected. Nice beat there. Not seeing any of the other numbers coming in, but that's a very nice look there for BROS.
All right, so far so good right there. We are up to the 50-period moving average on the daily chart for Bros. So we'll check that out. From one bro to another, let's bring him in. It's my bro. It's Brian Shannon. It's Trader Talk. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hey, Sean, we had a little trouble there. I'm doing the video on my phone and the audio and screen share. So if I'm a little wobbly, that's why.
Okay. We'll make it quick though. Thank you for joining with technical issues. Definitely much respected. So I gave a little bit of a talk there, what you were going to talk about. You gave me a little hint. We look at ETHE here. We can obviously look at Ethereum as well. But you had mentioned some crypto play that you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. And again, thank you so much for joining us on Technical Difficulties.
Yeah, well, I thought we were going to talk first about the stock. So let me talk about that biotech stock because I have that screen shared. And this is TG Therapeutics. They're a multiple sclerosis drug. And they just reported earnings that were better than expected. Revenues, basically. They're still losing money. But this year, they're expected to earn 72 cents per share. And you can see the stock popped on some pretty good volume in there. And now it's holding on over here on this 30-minute time frame.
Right.
I got long over here yesterday. So for a new entry, I think you want to see maybe a little bit of a pullback, then buy strength. But there's 25% of the float that's short in here. And most of that short position was put on over here in these lower prices back, September of last year and so. So about 17 million shares were put on at a price of about $9.50 per share. So this is one they said their drug is going to do. They raised their guidance from $220 to $260 million. Up to $270 million. So they're doing better than expected, and they've got a big short position. So I'm not really typically a biotech stock guy, but this one seems to have a lot going for it.
And I also noticed today, too, a nice little volume spike today, 1.68 relative volume. So those traders that are looking for RVol, looks like you got a catalyst. You've got nice RVol. Plus the days to cover, this is something that we've looked at on the show as well, 6.3. So not only a higher short float right there at 25, Brian, as you've indicated, but also days to cover. And man, yeah, we want to support, especially drug companies that are looking to change the world. So a good little name there. TGTX, thanks Brian for that. So again, I know we're having some issues there, but let's go over to Ethereum. We had that happening with Bitcoin bouncing back pretty good. I mean, we didn't get down to that 52, 53. So what are we looking at here with Ethereum as, again, some catalysts hopefully coming in the summer?
There's an interesting thing going on with the ETHE.
Okay.
And a lot of people are expecting that, similar to GBTC, the Bitcoin trust, the Ethereum trust will be converted to an ETF.
Right.
Well, right now, it's trading, ETHE is trading at about a 23% discount to what the asset is actually worth. So if they get approval, that will close that gap, just like GBTC did. It was trading, 6 months prior to GBTC becoming an ETF, it was trading at a 25% discount. So if you like Ethereum and you don't mind the overnight, risk of not being able to get out and that sort of thing,
right,
Ethereum ETHE Trust might be the way to go. Now, here's what I see about Ethereum on the daily chart here. This is TradingView, and you've got the year-to-date anchor in there. That's that black line. Well, if we switch down to a shorter-term time frame, you can see that on this 15-minute time frame, we've come down and tested that anchor from the low just this week twice today. So I'm thinking as long as we can hold up really at about, I'd probably give it down to about 29.75 just to give it a little bit of extra room.
Okay.
But these two tests here, which are the low of the pullback this last week, seem like the good place to have a stop. And let me change that scale. Yeah, that's quite obnoxious. So this might end up, Sean, being the higher low right here that finally gets this thing turned back around, and you can see we're right at the 20-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average is next, then the anchor off the high. But this looks like a low risk place to get involved with the risk down to about 29.75 or so, 29.50, let's call it.
So I just have a quick question for you. Like the fact that we could be 20, you said 23, 25% or so undervalued, or I guess the difference between Ethereum and where its fair value possibly should be with ETHE versus Ethereum, isn't that too easy? Like, I guess the risk, like you mentioned there, is the fact that maybe it doesn't get turned over into an ETF. I mean, if that happens, then maybe we're caught holding the bag. I think I got to do a little bit more work into that, but that seems like a pretty solid trade. Is that something you're in now or what? Because
I have a little bit of ETHE, which I just bought today, and I have some Ethereum, the actual Ethereum coin itself. I don't have what I want to have as a full position in ETHE because I think it's a little too risky to go full size till we get a little bit more momentum. But it does seem too easy with that extra, 25% of upside.
I know, right?
I don't really understand why it's there, truthfully, but I look at the history of what happened with GBTC, and it was trading very similar with that 25% or so discount. The other risk is, Sean, that if people start to believe that the SEC won't approve an Ethereum ETF, then that discount will actually widen. And Bitcoin ETF Trust did trade at 35-40% discount at some point. So it can swing both ways. But if you're a believer that Ethereum ETF is on its way, then that's probably worth a look.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be on its way here as we try to get that sorted out. So I can't ask you about a stock because of the difficulties. Do you want to give it a shot on one of them, or is that going to be too hard?
What do you got?
I got Rivian, so I'll give you a second to load it up. And the reason why, they reported today there was news about Apple possibly partnering up. I knew that was a fugazi fake, or at least we wouldn't get too much news on that one, all the way from $11 there in the pre-market. But if you look today, and we just drop it down, we had quite the journey. Nice positive, up 10% at one point. Then look at this. Right off the open, a huge move back in. I tried to buy this 1050 thinking it was something only to get smacked in the face again. And now they come out with earnings that are a little lower than expected. So for me, there's a lot of traders kind of caught in this name. I don't know if this is worth dip buying or not. It looks to me, Brian, that if 10 can hold, then maybe there's a lot of garbage under here, that if it can hold into earnings, we take this 50 period. I'm actually looking long Rivian. If we can start the day tomorrow above $10, use 10, maybe 950 as a bottom. I like the long in Rivian for a swing play now that earnings are out of the way. Am I as crazy as I sound?
On this one, I think
I
think you are. I'm a trend trader, Sean, and I just see a declining 50-day moving average. I see a declining 200-day moving average. We're below the year-to-date anchor. It's just had a 25% run. So where has it come from? Up 25% in the last 2 weeks. It kind of feels like chasing to me. So not, for a day trade, I know you're skilled enough to get in and out and it doesn't really matter. But as far as a swing trade, I'm personally not seeing it there.
And I was hoping that maybe you would say the long. We bought a little small piece at $11, and I agree with you. And Adara goes to me, at least he's being honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what it's all about here, Brian. I want to thank you for sure on that opinion on Rivian. And I agree, man. It's hard to catch that falling knife. I don't think this is like a 401k name or anything like that here with Rivian. But hey, maybe it's more than one ring to rule them all. It can't just be Tesla, can it? We gotta have some more in here at some point. But the EV space, do you have an electric car by any chance?
I do not.
Yeah. I feel like
I'm a gas guzzler guy.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't say that. Who's in the chat here? We got anybody? No, but all right. Thank you so much for all of that, Brian. I got to personally run today, so I want to thank you for joining us there. Sorry we couldn't get you hooked up a little bit earlier, but thank you for the analysis on Rivian. We're going to watch out for ETHE and then that therapeutics TGTX, was it? I think it was?
Yes.
TGTX. Yep. We'll look out for that, and we'll talk about that next week. Mr. Brian Shannon, they can find you at Alpha Trends. And I just said to Adara, where's his book? That's okay. No, we don't have to worry about it. Okay. It's over there on the other desk. But go find it right now. Advanced Trading with Anchored View Up. Thank you so much, Brian. That's Brian Shannon. Ciao, my friend.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's Trader Talk. What a great guy, honestly.
Yeah, shout out to Brian. That was awesome.
Yeah, there isn't much more, to do with Brian. And he was there fixing that situation on the fly. So thank you so much for Brian for coming through. And we always like new trade ideas. We're going to hold that one to our heart about that ETHE. And this is an easy one to sort of pick because you can go back and find out what happened to GBTC. So he nailed that there with those 2 trusts. We also have Jeff Mendel, which is the VP, I believe, of sales. He keeps changing his position over there at OTC Markets. So we'll have him back on, and I'm going to ask him directly about that if he can. All right. So, yeah, so far so good here for the day. Now, as far as sticky note, we're going to do roll call in a minute. So let's hit that. Get ready for roll call here today. Look, we've already talked about this. Palantir, let's just talk about how we traded it, because today we lost too much money on Palantir. What's so funny? I got to go in a minute. Right there. Okay, so there's Palantir right there, 2150. Look at this. My problem with Palantir, again, not nervous hands, anxious hands. If we're calling 2150 here, Sean, as an area of concern, why in the world are we buying 2250? Why are we buying this as it falls back into 22 and so on and so forth? I mean, I can answer that question because I thought we were going to hold this pre-market bottom of 22. Did not happen. When that did not happen, we had to get some out there on this bump back up. But then it just kept on going into our 2150. And this is where we have to slap the fail on. There's 2150. We had to get out when it broke it because I don't know how far we're going down when that does happen. But the thing about that is, Adara, if we wait for that, we have a winner on Palantir because I don't punch out at 2135 on a 2150 call. We have to be patient and wait for that. So that was a bad call there on Palantir. We were lucky enough that at the end of the day, we're able to, well, that was bad. We got out there, but I don't think that was many shares. It was this trade in, and then out right at the end of the day as we had to punch out before close. Bad trade there on Palantir. The other trade that we had, we battled back and forth with Nvidia as well. That was a trade that we were long. Lost it there, breaking through 900. We have the bottom of the day on Nvidia, which is nice, 897, with our out rate there at 907.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a $10 winner there, so we make some money back there on that one. But we got to do roll call. So here we go. Let's hit it one more time. And then, Adara, maybe a quick review of some of the stocks that had earnings out. Where's my roll call? Here it is. It's under here. What's up to everybody that's joining us right now for roll call? So let's go over to the screen. We'll make it big. So here it is right now. What's up to Andrew Chow? Brad Ullman's here. Johnny Rotten. Is Asia going to dump? I don't know. I think we're a little worried about Asia for sure. What's up, Michelle Meir? Anchor View Up is excellent. Thank you to Brian Shannon again. Is it worth it? Bora Hunt's here. Bears vs. Bulls, thank you so much for everything. Michelle Meir, we already said that. Evan Campbell's here. Daniel's here. Chandler's here. Swinging on that chandelier. Good one. I don't think either one of us can hit that note. Caputi right now. Hugh is here. Maybe you could. Joe is here. Louisa's here. Borat. We've already said that. I like Borat. Is it nice? Oh, no. Sorry. Borat. Not Borat. Right there. Valentine is here. The stock professor's here. Everybody is here in what has been. Oh, someone said, yo-yo, my guy. What's up, Molfar? Yo-yo to you as well. All right, quick little review. What's Upstart doing?
Upstart, let's see if Upstart got started up. I know someone was saying Upstart doing its thing 21, quite literally at the $21 mark, someone was saying in the chat. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, those numbers, just to review,
down to 20 right now.
Oh, that's pretty bad. They did have actually smaller loss than expected, but they did have that halt. We remember that halt that they did have, expecting revenue from fees to be about $300 million for the second half of the year. So some kind of non-specific guidance happening. Not seeing a lot of specific numbers though for like compared to estimates here for this quarter.
Let me just quickly show you guys. There's Upstart right here, down to $20 right now, trying to hit its October lows. So there's Upstart. It's a nasty move downside for UPST. Oops. Let me show you the 1 minute chart on this real quick just to show you. Bang. There it is. Upstart downside. Will Rivian bulls win? We'll find out. Brian Shannon says Nepa on that one. Rivian, what else was there? There was Oxy was a play today. That looks like they've given it back as well. Downside, Twilio was already downside. TWLO, we got to go or else I'm going to be late. Downside move on Twilio. That's still there. Lyft was lifted at one point, Adara. Came all the way back and now basically flat. Ooh-wee, that was a good show.
Yeah, it was quite the day. A lot of earnings, lots of names, lots of numbers to take a look at. I'm super happy I was able to be here and see all of that with you guys. Hopefully communicate some of those earnings.
Yeah, more tomorrow. Lots of interesting names coming through. Violent day in some sectors.
Oh, yeah.
China downside. We're a little nervous about China. Starbucks was a bad report for China. We saw Apple was okay. Tesla was downside. Some worries about Tesla and China. All right, I'm Trader TV Sean. That's Trader TV Adara. Find us all on socials. Thank you, Fabian, as I lose my voice. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, everybody, for watching. A big shout out to Bears vs. Bulls. We can't do that without you. And then, of course, Brian Shannon.
Shout out to Brian Shannon.
Yeah, you know, the legend himself showing. Are you a legend if you're still alive?
You can be living legend. That's the
Living
thing.
legend.
Living legend.
Right there, Brian Shannon. Shout out to Brian Shannon. We love that guy. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everybody out there. We'd have no show without you. I'll be back tomorrow, Rise and Shine, at 8:30. Adara will be here as well. Everybody at Trader TV Live, join us then at 8:30. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Follow us.
Follow us.
Me and Adara on socials, or all of us. See you tomorrow. Ciao, everybody.